flatter delivery and a big appeal for OBW given, and there is the end of the game. The finger is raised and the match is done. So Jamira LBW for 1, Sri Lanka all out for 91, and an 89-run victory for England. Comprehensive, clinical England.
Very one-sided in the T20 series between England and Sri Lanka. Let's see what happens in this Royal London Insurance one-day series. First match at the Emirates Riverside. Good morning to you. It's a lovely morning up here in the northeast. It was lovely yesterday and it's lovely today. The sun is shining. There's barely a cloud in the sky. It's a lovely, gentle midsummer's day, and we're full of expectation. We want to see some improvement from Sri Lanka, and of course this powerful England side looks to try to roll on towards the next World Cup. Let's find out what happened at the toss now. We can hear from the England captain. Owen Morgan has been speaking to Scott Reed.
Owen, thanks for joining us. What's the news from the middle?
We've won the toss and we're going to bowl first.
And your team news?
Team news is Jason Roy unfortunately misses out. His hamstring still hasn't recovered from being quite stiff in the T20 series. So Liam Livingstone comes in to open the batting. Mo and Ali is in at 6, Sam Billings at 5. And our bowling lineup is Wood, Wokes, Willie, Sam Curran, and we have 3 spinners.
Clearly a great chance for Livingston at the top of the order for you, isn't it, today?
Yeah, it's a rare opportunity that doesn't happen very often when you have an abundance of top order batsmen, and probably more so due to the success of Roy, Bairstow, Root at 1, 2 and 3 that don't really miss any games. So the guys don't really get opportunity, to be honest. So it's a huge chance for Liam today. Hopefully he'll go out and play his own game. He's been in fine form with the bat and the ball, so it's great that he gets an opportunity.
And a significant landmark for Joe Root, and also a landmark for David Willey today as well.
Yeah, two really poignant moments in our huddle before we warmed up. Dave's dad came and presented his 50th cap, and Dave was actually able to present his England gold pin to him in return. So a very special moment for them and their family. And Joe making his 150th appearance in an ODI is incredible, considering his age and what he's done for the rest of the game. In ODI cricket for particularly the last 5 years, he has been such an integral part of our plans and the way that we have played. It's great to see him achieve this milestone.
And you're 2 years out from the next World Cup, so I guess preparations start today.
Yeah, they've already started, to be honest. Our white ball contingent, there are a couple of parts of ODI cricket at the moment. There's part qualification for that World Cup. There's 10 points on offer for every game that we play in every series, so that's very important. But also we're using 50 over cricket to try and grow and develop our squad, more so because the 50 over World Cup is down the line and the T20 World Cups are probably more imminent.
And have you paid too much attention to the disruptions in the Sri Lankan camp or not?
No, none at all. One of our strengths over the years has been to focus on what we need to achieve to try and be at our best. So hopefully we can do that today.
Thanks, Owen. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yes. There we are. That's Scott Reed with England captain Owen Morgan. Let me run down the teams for you. I'll start with England. They are Bairstow, Livingstone. So Livingstone opening with Bairstow. Root at 3. Morgan, Billings at 5. Moeen Ali, Chris Wokes, Sam Curran, David Willey, Adil Rashid and Mark Wood. He got a big cheer a few moments ago when his name was announced, playing on his home ground, of course. Now, Sri Lanka have all sorts of problems with 4 batters out of their side, and it does look a pretty thin batting lineup, it has to be said, but we'll see what happens. Things can change. Avishka Fernando is injured. Gunnar Tilaka, Mendes and Dick Weller have been sent home for breaching COVID regulations. They were out in Durham the other day. It was bizarre, really, because they were out in Cardiff and that was allowed, but they weren't allowed out of the hotel in the northeast because of the high infection rates here, and they broke that curfew and they have been disciplined and sent home. So their lineup is Kusal Perera is the captain. Patam Nisanka is going to open with him, playing his 7th one-day international, right-handed bat. Charith Asalanka makes his debut. He's a 23-year-old left-hander. Then Dasan Shanaka is going to bat at 4. Wanindu Hasaranga is down to bat at 5, playing his 22nd one-day international. He's more notable for spin, really, than for batting. Ramesh Mendis at 6. He played in the Test series against England earlier this year. Then Dhananjaya Lakshan, he makes his debut. He's an all-rounder, right-arm fast, medium and left-hand bat. Charika Kanaratne is a right-arm fast, medium bowler, playing his second one-day international. And then Binura Fernando, who did play in the T20 series, left-arm fast, medium bowler. Dusmanta Chameru bowled really well on Saturday down at Southampton. And then Praveen Jayawikrama is making his debut, although he did take 11 wickets. He's a slow left arm. He did take 11 wickets in his only Test match so far. So those are the names in the Sri Lanka line. It was actually 4 changes from their last one-day international when they played in Bangladesh, and only one player who played in the World Cup match. That's what I make it. Only one player who played in the World Cup match at Headingley. The last time these two teams met, when England lost, to really sort of open up the World Cup and to really put give England some problems. A remarkable day at Headingley when Sri Lanka won that match. So Jimmy Anderson alongside me. I mean, it's so much. Let's start with the Sri Lankans. There's so much turmoil in their team. I mean, in a way, does that sometimes think, well, what else could possibly go wrong? It sort of frees you up a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not been a great couple of days, or after that T20 series and the struggles they had. It's the last thing they needed to lose those players. What it does do is give opportunities to younger guys. It gives them experience. But again, coming up against the number one side in the world, the world champions, and a really strong England unit, I just think it could be a really tough few games for them.
Yeah, Sri Lanka batting first as well. I mean, they're batting on, throughout the 3 T20 matches. I mean, I suppose it's how different is the format. Obviously you get more time, don't you, in a one-day match to build your innings.
Yeah, there is that. But I think, you look at, I'm thinking about the captain, Pereira, and his natural game is to play his shots. And we saw that in the T20 series, and he goes about it. I've seen him play Test match knocks where he does go after the bowling. So it's a tricky one where, as captain, will he then feel a bit of extra responsibility, a bit of extra pressure, and maybe go into his shell a little bit? And does it take away from his natural game, which, for the Sri Lankans, they will be hoping that it doesn't.
Something Owen Morgan said there in that interview with Scott Reed, we were talking about preparations for the next World Cup, and Scott saying it's starting today. He said, well, it's already started. And in a way, yes, he's right, because we are already in the Men's World Cup Super League round of matches, and this is actually the 10th match for England, and they've only won 4 of their 9 games so far, and Sri Lanka have only won 1 from 6, and they are 13th in the league. England are actually second, but it's very close to the top. And basically you need to finish in the top 7 to qualify, or possibly 8, depends where India finish. India are actually 8th in the league at the moment, but there are 13 teams and 7 are guaranteed to qualify, and it does actually give a bit more focus in a way to one-day internationals. You play 4 home series and 3 away series of 3 matches. Is it something you approve of, or does it, do you think England will qualify anyway because they are so strong? So in a way, as long as you pick up a few wins along the way, it'll be okay.
Yeah, I think it does give you that extra focus, definitely. I remember back to when I played one-day internationals, and you had a lot of dead rubbers, or it felt like that. If the series is gone, then you could be playing the extra game or 2 when there's nothing much riding on it. But now there's actually some, every game counts for something, and I think that's good for the game. It gives it more like I said, a bit more of a focus in each series.
Yeah, England are second with 40 points at the moment. Bangladesh are top with 50, but Bangladesh and England have both played 9 matches. Pakistan have 40 points as well. Australia have 40 points, the same as England, and Sri Lanka right at the bottom. Poor old Sri Lanka. I mean, they might have to qualify for the next World Cup. They've actually had 2 points deducted as well because of a slow over rate. So they sort of feels as if they're going backwards. To me, it feels as if this is like the sort of Sri Lanka cricket at the moment is where it was back in the 1980s, where it sort of dragged itself forward and then produced that amazing World Cup winning side. What does Russell Arnold say about it and all the shenanigans in the Sri Lankan camp. He joins us from home. Hello to you, Russell. What are you seeing from a distance?
Oh, Simon, how are you? Well, disaster really. Sri Lanka, anyway, in a position or in a situation where their senior players are the ones who needed to stand up, but they've actually let the team down. And not only letting the team down, they put a lot of people at risk. So, which is very, very disappointing. And hopefully, it turns out to be a plus. It turns out that there are some good youngsters who have been struggling to get opportunity to play. The likes of Charit Asalanka, Pathum Nisanka. So maybe that fresh new mindset might be what Sri Lanka need to go forward. I'm not talking about beating England here. I'm talking about showing some life, showing some fight, and showing some hope.
What do you make about, say, Shanaka down to bat at 4 and Hasaranga at 5?
Well, that's a bit of a problem because they are probably 2-3 places too high for them, the type of cricket that they play. But Sri Lanka are asking them to dig deep because they have no other option. 4 batsmen, 3 have returned home because of the disciplinary reasons. Avishka Fernando got injured, and then Dhananjay De Silva was ruled out today. Again for fitness concerns. Also, the Fernando is the other experienced batsman in the team, but it's very hard to pick him even for another format, the way he batted in that third T20 international. So the way they've gone about making their decisions is fine, but it just does leave a bit of a hole in this current squad. It's not easy to fly people in because of quarantine reasons and stuff like that. So the players there have to stand up. It is quite a weak batting lineup in that sense. The top 3, Pathum Nisanka, Charit Asalanka, of course, he's celebrating his 24th birthday today, who's making his debut. If they can see off the new ball, take the game into about the 25th over, then I think it'll suit the game of the likes of Dasun Shanaka and Hasaranga.
Tell us a bit about Nisanka and Asalanka. Nisanka's played a little bit before, but it's Asalanka's debut.
Yes, Asalanka, under-19 captain a few years ago. I know he played. That was against Sam Curran, so they're kind of the same batch of or crop of cricketers coming through. He's looked at a future Sri Lankan captain, and very different to most of the other Sri Lankan players who've been in that squad. Good thinker and a good learner. He's always talking and wanting to learn. He's got quality. So really excited that he gets the break. Pathum Nisanka scored heaps of runs in first-class cricket, and he's only got his break because of those runs. So he knows to make them, but of course this is a higher standard, and he's at his pet position. The games that he's played before has been in the middle order. It's a change, but this is the flair, our natural talent that we're looking at.
And a couple of other debuts as well. And Jaya Wickrama making his debut, the slow left armer, 11 wickets on his debut. How promising is he?
He's tallish, he bowls with a bit of control, and the 11 wickets you mentioned, he bowled beautifully. Of course, in Kandy, the wicket did take a bit of turn, but it was good to see someone bowling with that type of control, and he's the closest we've seen to Rangan Hera because of the areas that he bowls. So he gets the opportunity. Hopefully he can bring that form in here as well. There's Dhananjay Lakshan, who's come in as well. He's also very competitive. He's got the same type of grind as Wanindu Hasaranga, which most of the players are lacking. So it's good for him to get a break and bowls lots of slower balls, a variety of slower balls. So no experience and a lot of raw talent. So we're hoping the Sri Lankan flair, as I keep saying, this is the opportunity because they don't have to follow the cue set by the senior players who haven't been great.
Russell, thanks for now. We'll hear from Russell Arnold throughout the game. The players are out there. They had a moment of unity away to our left-hand side. And I suppose the one thing as far as these Sri Lanka openers are concerned is that it's a pleasant morning. It's not a bad morning for batting at all. It could have been overcast and humid, and you're up against a talented England new ball attack. It looks as if it's going to be Wokes to open the bowling, and it's going to be Pathum Nisanka to take strike. Kusal Perera, the captain, the left-hander, at the non-striker's end. But it's a really pleasant morning, and Lumley Castle away to our right-hand side is a flag there, the across the St George. It's just drooping there. There's barely any breeze whatsoever. In terms of the crowd, 7,000 in today, which is great to see. It's more than I think they were anticipating, but there's been a sort of slightly relaxing of the stipulations surrounding this game. So 7,000 crowd in, and they're sitting in the sunshine and looking forward to, who knows what Sri Lanka are going to come up with. Their batting was really disappointing in that T20 series, but this is the longer form of the white ball game. You do get a bit more time, and who knows, they might be freed up in a way, feeling that you've got nothing to lose. Right, it's going to be Woakes to bowl the first ball of the match, and he's going to be bowling to Nissanka. 2 slips are in. Here is Woakes now, right arm over the wicket, and it's shorter length than Nissanka, who's a small man, up on his toes, and playing that quietly into the onside, and there is no run. So there's Wood on his home ground for England, and Willie as well, and Curran, England's pace attack, and then Rashid, Moeen Ali and Livingston. It was notable that Owen Morgan said they've got 3 spinners, so including Liam Livingston in that, and Livingston later will get the chance to open the batting, and it must be a strange situation for him, because he looked at that England one-day side and thought, well, there's no chance I'll ever get to open the batting in it, but that's what's happening today. Here is Woakes going into bowl to Nissanka outside the off stump, and Nissanka moves across and allows that to go through to wicketkeeper Johnny Bairstow. That's the other thing to note as well. Bairstow behind the stumps with Butler injured. Talk about Sri Lanka's problems. England's got players injured as well. There's no Butler, there's no Roy, there's no Stokes.
Yeah,
they're all injured.
Yeah, again, but I think England will be more happy with the opportunities for other guys in the squad.
Here is Woakes bowling outside the off stump, and Nissanka looking for his first run there. Dabs that away into the offside, but it's picked up at cover. Is there someone I missed there, Andy? Andy Zoltzman.
Jofra Archer.
Oh, and Jofra Archer as well, of course, yeah.
the World Cup winning seam attack has not featured a great deal since then. In 2 years.
No, that's right. Yeah, so England got players missing as well, but there we go. Jerusalem being applauded by the spectators here. Here is Woakes bowling, and Nissanka turns that away straight to mid-wicket, where it's picked up by Moeen Ali wearing his blue boots, and there is no run. There's been a bit of a COVID effect on this game. Tim Robinson brought in as umpire. The match referee in the last game tested positive for COVID, so there were some of the other officials around him, so they were taken out, and we got Chris Broad match refereeing this game. Here is Woakes bowling to Nissanka up on his toes, plays that quietly away into the offside, out towards cover, and there is no run. So Tim Robinson is at square leg. Michael Goff is standing up. He seems to be umpired just about every game I go to, Michael Goff.
Well, I think he was due for a rest, wasn't he? And now, because of this situation, he's had to come back in. So, yeah, that's the problem when he's considered the best around.
Richard Kettleborough is on TV umpire duties today. This is Woakes into bowl to Nissanka. Nissanka's forward, guiding that down towards backward point. And there is the first over of the match. And no surprise that Chris Woakes has started with a very tidy over. He started with a maiden, so Sri Lanka put into bat, yet to score from the first over. What was noticeable in that T20 match on Saturday is how much England got the ball to move, and for how long. They got it to swing and seam almost throughout the Sri Lanka innings.
Yeah, the conditions there were perfect for it. Quite muggy, humid conditions, so Sri Lanka themselves got a bit of movement through the air. But here it's although the sun's out, it's a much fresher day, I'd say, today. And there wasn't much movement there. It was a good over from Chris Woakes, a maiden, but something we didn't see in the T20s was some just composure from the Sri Lanka batsman. And I thought Nissanka dealt with that over pretty well. He looked fairly comfortable, got forward to the good length balls, played some nice shots, forward defence. So he looked pretty comfortable to start with.
It's going to be David Willey, his 50th one-day international, goes into bowl to Sri Lanka's captain, and there is the first run. Kusal Perera looking to glance the ball that was down the leg side. He missed it, and it was taken by Bairstow away to his right-hand side. So Willey starting with a wide. 50 one-day internationals for David Willey. Of course, we mentioned Jofra Archer missed out place in the World Cup squad because of Archer coming in. Willey back in favour. Left arm over the wicket into bowl, and that's a fine shot from Pereira. It's short and it's clubbed away out towards the deep cover boundary, and it's gone away for 4. So not the best of starts from Willey. One down the leg side and one short and wide, and scratching away at the crease at the far end, as if there's a problem with the footmarks. Anyway, there is Pereira. Jimmy was saying in the build-up that Pereira might go into his shell a bit, but he couldn't resist that one.
No, you can't. I mean, it's a short and wide delivery from David Willey, and most batsmen would go after that, even if it is second ball of his innings.
So 5 for no wicket. And Willey, with this trot to the crease, goes in and bowls, and that's a tight delivery on the hip of Pereira, and Pereira nudges it into the onside, short and mid-wicket. Willey has to rush across to pick it up, can't prevent the single, so another run to Pereira, goes to 5, and Sri Lanka to 6 for no wicket in the second over of this first of 3 one-day internationals, but it's actually the 10th match for England in the World Cup Super League. Mark Wood getting some applause down beneath us from the well-populated stand away to our right-hand side. And Sri Lanka have played 6 matches so far, so this is their 7th, and they've only won 1. It was their last match that they played in Bangladesh. Willey trots in, bowls to Nissanka, right-hander, cross him. Nissanka leans forward and allows that to go through to Bairstow. What about Nissanka's form so far, Zoltz, and his career pedigree? We heard Russell talking about him at the start of the programme. 7th one-day international today. He's a diminutive right-hander. Bairstow having a chat there with Root, who's at first slip. Livingston at second. And Willey trots in and bowls, and Nissanka still looking for his first run, turns that away towards mid-wicket, straight to the fielder. And again, there is no run. 6 for no wicket.
He's not done a lot in his previous one-dayers, just 70 runs at an average of 11.6 in his 6 previous games before that. But he did have an outstanding Test debut, made 103 in the West Indies in his first Test.
Still looking for his first run. Here is Willey into bowl to him, and there he is. He's away. Across him, guiding it away with an open face down towards deep third, where Wood comes in and picks up and lobs the return into Bairstow, and Sri Lanka put into bat. 7 for no wicket.
Nissanka's got a tremendous record in long form cricket, in first class cricket. Averages 64 with 14 centuries, but hasn't translated that to white ball in 41 List A games, so domestic one-day matches, averaging 29.
Back with Pereira. Willey bowls to him, and he hammers that through the offside for 4. Magnificent shot. Not much foot movement, but a free swing of the bat. And Pereira taking 2 fours off that Willey over. So a big contrast. A maiden from Wokes, and then 11 off David Willey's first over. Just hitting that on the up.
Yeah, with not much swing or seam movement at all in these opening couple of overs. A little bit of shape there from David Willey, but Pereira, as you said, no foot movement whatsoever, but he's got such good hand-eye coordination that he can just, when he's in form, he can really hit those well through the offside.
Well, a decent start for Sri Lanka then. 11 for no wicket, 2 overs gone. It wasn't exactly a wayward ball, that one from Willey, that last one. Beautifully played. Wokes bowls down the leg side. An appeal for a catch is a wide. There's a few shouts of catch it. There often are from the slip fielders. Nothing from Wokes. He knew he got that fractionally wrong. And Nissanka going after it. Couldn't catch up with it, but umpire Goff spreading his arms wide. Statuesque figure there behind the stumps. All in black. Wokes in light blue and dark blue trousers goes in and bowls to Nissanka, and Nissanka guides that away straight to backward point, and there is no run. So with that wide, 12 for no wicket Sri Lanka. It's Billings there at backward point, so an opportunity for 1 or 2 of these players today. It depends how many Sri Lanka get. Likes of Livingston and Billings. Billings, who played that magnificent innings against Australia at the end of last summer. Here's Wokes bowling to Nissanka, tight line. Nissanka turns into the onside. Wood rushes forward from mid-on, flicks it into Bairstow, and there is no run. Did you enjoy bowling here, Jimmy, on this ground?
I feel like white ball cricket is usually a good pitch, so no. But in red ball, you usually get a little bit of movement and either swing or seam, so it was quite friendly with red ball.
Wokes to Nissanka. Nissanka turns that firmly away past Moeen Ali at mid-wicket. He chases it back and come back for the second. Throws on its way as a high one for Bairstow. Leaps into the air, doesn't take it cleanly. It's backed up by Billings. So 2 more to Sri Lanka. 14 for no wicket. Nissanka moves to 3. One-day international, this one, of course, but lots of T20 cricket being played at the moment, and of course the T20 World Cup confirmation that will be staged in the UAE and Oman due to the ongoing COVID situation in India. The BCCI will remain host of the event. Here is Wokes bowling to Nissanka. Nissanka's beaten. Stabbing forward of that one through to Bairstow. Yeah, so India's still the host of the event, be held at in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Sharjah and the Oman Cricket Academy ground. Of course, they've got to play the IPL matches, so there could be some very tired pitches for that T20 World Cup. They're going to play some of it in Oman so they can allow the other 3 pitches to recover. Wokes goes in and bowls. It's down the leg side again, and another wide signal by umpire Goff. Nissanka there trying to flick it away and missed it. So yeah, it might well be that spin and it's going to play a big part in that competition. I wonder whether that's England's strength. Now they have got Rashid, Moeen. Here is Wokes up on his toes, goes Nissanka, forces that away up towards mid-off, and there's no run. They've got that powerful batting line-up. Clear the ropes in Sharjah a few times. Short boundaries there.
Yeah, I think what it does is I think everyone's been gearing up for that anyway. That if it was in India, it would have been a sort of spin would have played a big part there. So I don't think it changes much on that front. So that'll help most teams.
Wokes to Nissanka. Nissanka forces that away nicely. Finds the gap on the offside. Chase for Billings up towards the cover boundary. And they come back for 2 runs. 17 for no wicket. 3 overs gone of this Sri Lanka innings they were put into bat. Although, I suppose it depends where you play, doesn't it, in India? You think of Mohali or Bangalore, slightly different. It's funny, you think of India, don't you? Think of it just spinning everywhere, but and Mumbai can be good for batting. And then play at Chennai, and it's quite tricky. Yeah, the spinners holding sway there.
A little more on England's cricket since the World Cup final. They've played very little one-day cricket. This is just their 13th game in that time. By comparison, at the equivalent stage of the previous World Cup cycle, so just under 2 years after the 2015 final.
Here's Willie beginning his second over. Into bowl to Pereira, and Pereira's a swish at that one, and he misses it through to Bairstow. But he was looking for extra cover region. He practices the shot. You can see where he was trying to hit it up towards the Health Club, but he missed it. Is it 2-4 so far? Just a bit of away movement from Willie, just taking it away from the left-hander.
The equivalent stage of the previous World Cup cycle, they played 36 games, so they played 3 times as much cricket after in the 2 years after the last World Cup.
Willie trots into bowl. And, Pereira tries to turn that into the onside. It's a bit tucked up. Ball drops onto the pitch and Willie steps forward and picks up, and there's no run.
And this is true across the international game. There's been more of a focus on T20, and obviously COVID has taken out a lot of fixtures from the calendar. Sri Lanka, this is their 15th game since the 2019 World Cup. In the previous cycle they'd played 35. But overall there's been fewer than half the number of matches between the top 10 ranked teams in the last 2 years than there were in the 2 years after the 2015 World Cup. So one-day cricket has taken a significant back seat since that spectacular tournament.
Yeah. Willie into bowl. Oh, and he nicks that, but past the keeper for 4. Past his off stump. Bairstow dived away to his right hand side. It went down towards the fine leg boundary, and Pereira he doesn't look as if he's going to play a restrained way here. 2 huge drives in this over, one in which he missed and one which he thin edged. Could have easily cannoned into his off stump. Bairstow couldn't take it. So but 4 more. The runs flowing off Pereira's bat.
He doesn't hold back, does he, when it's slightly full? I mean, it's not even a half volley, it's a good length ball, but he gave it everything.
Willie bowls, and he hits that over backward point, chase back for Billings. He will get there as well, and 2 more to the total. There was a slight miscue, but he went hard at it, got it over the inner ring, so 2 more to the total. 23 for no wicket. It might well be, Andy, as well. The other thing is with the new Super League that we're down to 3 matches, aren't we now? Series of 3 matches rather than England, for example, last time they played Sri Lanka in a series, they played a 5-match series in the build-up to the World Cup, so that will reduce the volume of one-day international cricket as well. Willie bowls, and this time Pereira plays a correct forward defensive shot up towards mid-off, and there's no run. Chris Woakes is there.
So as a result of this lack of cricket plus injuries and COVID and clashes with Test last year, the seam attack from the World Cup final, Woakes, Archer, Stokes, Wood and Plunkett, before today had played a combined total of just 15 one-dayers between them.
Willie, past umpire Robinson, goes into bowl to Pereira. Is a huge mow at that one and misses it, and it's through to Bairstow. Well, it's a dicey game, but I'm all for it. I think it's good fun. I mean, if you get an hour of him, then Sri Lanka will be bounding away. They'll be over the top of Lumley Castle and disappearing into the distance. 23 for no wicket, but it's not the purest sort of form of hitting. It's not sort of like Butler or Bairstow hitting. There's a lot of swiping out there.
Yeah, it's a bit more agricultural than that, but he's got such a good eye, he's so talented that I feel he could just, I'm not saying he should rein it back a bit, but just be a little bit more selective with his shots, especially considering the lack of experience that Sri Lanka have got in their lineup.
Now 23 for no wicket after 4 overs. Nissanka has 5, Pereira has 15. Nissanka's on strike. Woakes goes in and bowls to him, and Nissanka plays that firmly back down the pitch. Woakes away to his right hand side, picks up, and there's no run. Nissanka's playing a very different game to the one Pereira's playing.
Yeah, I can see why he's done so well in Test cricket. He looks very organised, very compact. He's got a good defence. He's played a couple of attacking shots. He played a nice little back foot punch through the offside for 2, but nothing particularly expansive. But you can see why he's very good at the longer format.
Yeah. Compact player. Woakes bowls to him. He struck on the pad there. Might have been inside edge. No appeal for LBW from Woakes. Looked straightish, so yeah, just suggestion there of an inside edge. Ball dropping onto the pitch again. 23 for no wicket, Sri Lanka in the 5th over. Just switching on to very inexperienced Sri Lanka lineup with 3 debutants today. Asalanka in next, and then Dhananjaya Lakshan, who's an all-rounder, and then Jaya Wikrama, who's a slow left armour, down to come in at number 11. Woakes goes in, bowls to Nissanka. Nissanka tries to force into the offside, doesn't time it, goes out into the covers, and there is no run. And for England today, Livingston and Bairstow at the top. Root playing his 150th, Moen's playing, and Woakes is playing. Willie's playing his 50th, and Mark Wood is playing on his home ground, and Joe Root's playing his 150th as well. He's in their first slip, only slip now. 4 on the offside, 2 on the on, inside the circle. Here is Woakes bowling. It's a short, slower ball caught at mid-wicket. It was a slower ball into the pitch, and Nissanka went for the pull shot, and he miscued it straight to Moeen Ali. And Wokes has made the breakthrough, and Nisanka so frustrated with himself. He played in a restrained way, but his eyes lit up at that ball. He thought, here's 4 runs, but he mistimed it straight to Moeen. 23 for 1 in the 5th over.
Yeah, that's a shame for Sri Lanka. He's played nicely there. Looked to get off to a solid start, Nisanka, but his first real attacking shot, he's pulled it straight to the fielder at square leg. Looked like, I'm not sure if it was a slow ball or just a drag down from Chris Wokes. He looked a bit sheepish after he bowled it.
So it's a horrible long hop, was it?
Looking at his face, I think it might have just been a drag down.
It seems as if it's all just sort of looped off the pitch. And anyway, we'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at the speed of that delivery. It wasn't the greatest delivery, but it got a wicket, and I suppose all bowlers will say, well, that's the most important thing. Scott Reed's coming in, Jimmy, so if you just want to fill the gap. Lanka, presume, is coming out at number 3 for Sri Lanka.
Yeah, just waiting for a replay on that Chris Wokes delivery. Both bowlers have struggled a little bit with the footholds early on, been slipping a little bit. So I just wonder whether he slipped and just dragged it down. It didn't look like I think it was 80 miles an hour, so it wasn't a proper slow, what you'd consider a real slower ball. It was slightly slower than his other deliveries. But it was there to be hit, and he's just sort of got the toe of the bat, really. A bit unfortunate, and straight to square leg.
He did look a little bit sheepish, didn't he? Yeah. But, these deliveries get wickets, don't they?
They can.
They could be the best ball, can't they? The 23 for 1. 2 balls left of the 5th. And debutants on strike. As Wokes comes in and bowls forward nicely in defence, pushing up to the offside, and there is no run. So 1 ball left of the 5th as Chris Wokes with the breakthrough. Just that slower ball, he said, just sat up there, didn't he? And couldn't really have hit it any better straight to Moeen. And 2 slips are in place. Wokes right arm over the wicket, bowls. It's worked off the hip, steered away into the onside, or in Morgan Fields. And there's no runs. So he's faced a couple of deliveries on his debut, Lanka, and he's seen the overthrow. So 5 gone, 23 for 1 after England winning the toss, opting to have a ball first. The breakthrough for Chris Wokes, and a nice steady start, James, for England.
Yeah, good start. I think that's why it's a frustrating game at times, because he bowls some lovely deliveries just outside of stump, beating the bat with a bit of seam movement, and then gets a wicket with a rank long up. Even if it was a slow ball, I don't think it's where he would have chosen to bowl it. I think he's still trying to hit a length with that slow ball. But yeah, it was just a drag down, but a wicket's a wicket, isn't it? It doesn't say a drag down in the scorebook.
David Willey continuing his 3rd over, gone for 17 so far. As Pereira just turns this delivery off his pads towards mid-on, jogs through for a single. The Sri Lankan captain, who I think just be hoping for a nice day in the middle with the bat, in the blue sky, in the sunshine, in a good pitch, and forget the previous few days. But all the slightly frantic last 72 hours or so out of his mind, and enjoy a chance to have a bat and get some runs. Second slip in place because Lanka's back on strike. Here comes David Willey. Leans forward and pushes away defensively out into the offside. Picked up at short extra cover by the England skipper. And there is no run. Actually, 2 teams coming into this one-day international series not in great form. England, since being world champions. Sri Lanka lost their last series against Bangladesh. And Willey from the Lumley end. In the balls again. Lanka pushing away into the offside. Wants a single, wants to get off the mark, wants his first run. But picked up by Morgan once more. And there's no run. 2 years out from the next 50 over World Cup, James, and you wonder where Owen Morgan sees the team developing and moving.
Yeah, well, I think it's been a difficult couple of years since the World Cup, obviously with the pandemic and having to chop and change the team a little bit.
Willie bounces in again, bowls. A fullish length delivery to Asalanka, who plays forward and pushes back down the pitch, and there's no run.
And I think with the T20 World Cup, obviously the focus has shifted onto that. T20 World Cup this year and next year. So there has definitely been a shift towards that, and I think maybe one-day cricket's taken a slight backseat. And as Andy said earlier, we've played half the games in this last 2 years than we did after the 2015 World Cup.
William bowls, edge taken by Root, and he's out for naught on debut. Asalanka. It's a good catch by Root, low to his left-hand side, about waist height. And Asalanka, who followed the delivery, steered it into the grateful hands of Joe Root. David Willey picks up a wicket, the second to fall for Sri Lanka. 24 for 2.
Yeah, it's a good bit of bowling. He's just probing around outside off stump, back of a length, a little bit of movement away from the left-hander, and he's just tried to push it into the offside. Not more than a push. Not trying to be too forceful with it, but it just got the bounce has done for him, and good catch in the end by Joe Root. Solid pair of hands.
And out for naught on debut. One ball left of the sixth. 24 for 2. Walk back towards the dressing room for Asalanka in the beautiful sunshine here in the northeast. 6 deliveries faced on debut. He was eager to get off the mark, wasn't he? He was keen to get on the front foot and try and get himself going, but not to be for him today. Wicket for David Willey, his 50th cap for England. Back into the England one-day squad. Back playing in this format for England again.
Chris Woakes' wicket was his 150th in ODI cricket as well. To highlight the dependence of Sri Lanka on Kusal Perera in the absence of the 3 players suspended, this team between them has 25 scores of 50 or more in ODI cricket. Perera has 20 of them, including the only 600 scored by this Sri Lankan side. He scored almost 3/4 of the runs in this starting 11.
Dashan Shanaka, the new batter, as Willie bowls, slashed down towards third for a single. A few oohs and ahs from the England supporters with those 2 slips in place, but he's reaching for it. Steers it down towards Mark Wood, the deep third boundary. Gets a run off the mark as well. That's the end of the over. A wicket taken over for David Willey. Well, if the pressure was on Kusal Perera coming into the game with all sorts of goings on in the Sri Lankan camp, even more so now, having lost a couple of wickets. A reminder for you can follow the game today via the BBC Sport website and app, including video clips of the day's highlights. But to see those 2 wickets, just go to the text commentary and you'll find the clips there, the BBC Sport website and app. 6 overs gone, 25 for 2. Chris Woakes to start his 4th over. Shanaka on strike, 2 slips in place. Woakes over the wicket and bowling. It'll clip off the pads down towards fine leg, beyond the reach of Johnny Bairstow. Down towards the boundary. Oh, that's a valiant effort on the fine leg boundary to scoop the ball up, and much appreciated by the teammates. That's a great piece of work by Tom Curran? No, it's Sam Curran. Sam, the scoop. I thought Tom was on the field as 12th man for a second there, but good work by his brother Sam. They'll just check it, because it was right by the sponge, wasn't it?
Yeah,
his knee got into it.
Could be for this. Looks like he's touching the ball as his leg just catches the sponge.
Ooh, yeah, a trailing right leg.
It's probably going to be 4. Great effort though.
It was, and his teammates liked it. The bowler, the skipper up applauding. I'm going to have to look at it 2 or 3 times here. It's his right knee, isn't it, I think, or perhaps his toe on his foot. He gets down and tries and scoops the ball up, pushes the ball away. There's a bit of guesswork involved with that. I mean, you can watch it 2 or 3 times back on the replay, but are you entirely certain one way or the other?
Yeah, he might get the benefit of the doubt. It's difficult to...
Well, from that angle, you can't tell, can you, really? That kind of front-on angle, looking at Sam as he slides across the ground, right arm scooping round. Well, it was a valiant effort, but in the end in vain. And it's been given as 4 leg byes. Shanaka remains on 1. The ball just glancing off his thigh pad down to the boundary. 27 for 2. Correction, 29 for 2. It's Walks is in the balls. It's wide of off stump and left through to Bairstow, and there is no run into the 7th. And penny for the thoughts of the Sri Lankan captain, Kusal Pereira. But maybe actually, James, being out there, not having to worry about what's going on, think of his own game, might be the best thing for him.
Yeah, he's got to play the situation. I think he knows that he's got a responsibility to try and get a big score for Sri Lanka, but he's in the best place.
Walks over the wicket, balls forward nicely, right in behind it, pushing up to mid-off. David Willey fields, and there is no run. Halfway into the 7th over. Here it's the Emirates Riverside in the northeast, on the banks of the River Wear. Bright blue sky above us. On a busy day of live sport, there's a bit going on today. There's a good crowd watching this one-day international. Forward again, Shanaka. And straight foot, face of the bat, pushing away off the front foot. David Willey comes round from mid-off to complete the fielding, and there's no run. 2 balls left of the 7th. He walks into his 4th over. You take a little bit of readjusting, James, to get back into the idea of playing 50-over cricket, and so it's not been too much domestic 50-over games for the guys to play. Wilkes in and bowls again. Shanaka's forward once more in defence. Picked up by Wilkes off his own bowling, and there's no run.
Well, there's none this year.
No, there isn't, is there? No.
So yeah, it's slightly different. I think for the bowlers, it's just trying to get used to. It is quite a long time in the field, so coming back for your 2nd and 3rd spells can be a little bit trickier, especially for the guys that haven't played much 4-day cricket as well this year.
Final ball of the 7th. Shanaka on 1. Driven to mid-on where Mark Wood fields. Loopy throw in towards the gloves of Johnny Bairstow. It's the end of the over. It's the end of James Anderson as well. We'll be back a little later on. So 7 gone, 29 for 2. Shanaka 1. Pereira on 16. Emirates Riverside. If you just joined our coverage, England winning the toss, opting to have a ball first with Joe Root and David Willey, Sam Billings coming into the team. Liam Livingstone will have a chance to bat at the top a little later on. You see David Willey continuing. 3 overs remaining of the power play. The 2 fielders outside that 30-yard circle. Deep backward square leg and deep third. 1 slip in place. As Willey comes left arm over the wicket and bowls. Flicked away neatly through mid-on. Coming back for a 2nd, Pereira here. Might even think of a 3rd. It's a decent boundary out towards that leg side. And they have run 3. They clip away through mid-wicket along the ground. Sam Curran coming from mid-on to field. 3 added to the total. Pereira moves to 19. Sri Lanka to 32 for 2. We're in the 8th. And Ebony Rainford Brent. Good morning.
Hey Scott, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm alright. I'm looking forward to seeing how Sri Lanka go with their batting in particular. I think what we're seeing at the moment from these 2, it's early days, but good shapes. Something we saw in the T20s, a lot of shapes lost and wilder shots. I think this format means you know that you've got time and you don't have to over-rush it, and you can almost try and find a groove. So it'll be good to see. How's things with you?
I can't complain.
No?
Yeah. Oh,
sun shining?
Exactly. Like everybody else, battling on, Ebony. Willie in and bowling. Flick down the leg side. At least that's the attempt from Shanaka, taken by Bairstow. There's no run. The last time you and I were on a commentary together, you were just Ebony Rainford Brent. There was a wide signalled as well. Score moves on to 33 for 2.
Still just Ebony Rainford Brent.
There's a couple of
Ebs, really.
There's a couple of extra little letters bolted onto the end. You're not like
I hadn't noticed.
Ebony Rainford Brent. EBRMBE. There's Willie's bowls again. Big appeal for LBW. Ball just deflects out into the onside. Umpire Robinson standing statuette. There's ball's picked up by Owen Morgan. And he signalled a leg by.
Yeah, it looked a bit leg side-ish, didn't it? With the angle that he gets. It's a left armer coming back in to the left hander. It just felt a little bit leg side there. He might have even pitched outside if they look again on Hawkeye.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a great review. I don't think that, would it, really, looking back? Really bouncing back in, bowling, slashed away through the offside, beats point, got a little something on it to take the pace off it. Will it reach the boundary rope? I suspect it will. It does, despite the best efforts of Sam Billings. Carved away, square of the wicket for 4. Even with that kind of partial stop from Liam Livingstone, Pereira gets 4 more to his total. And just need a boundary for Sri Lanka.
Really nicely played. Waited quite late, just drilled it into the ground. I heard you saying to Jimmy a moment ago, it's mostly the best place for the captain to be at the moment, with all the problems out in the middle.
Yes. Put all the other concerns to one side. Try and enjoy the day. Looks a good pitch, doesn't it? The weather's good. Try and get some runs. 23 to him now, 38 for 2. Willie bowls. Forward again, just squeaks this one down behind point, down towards the wide third boundary. Well, it's successive 4s for him. One carved away through point, the other one off the front foot, just steered down between kind of Gurley and backward point. 4 more. 27 to Pereira, 42 for 2.
Yeah, this one beat him. Just a little bit of shape, ended up not quite controlling it, just skewed on the outside edge. Good bowling from Willie. Again, it's a boundary. Pereira's flying at the moment.
The result is a conversation between the captain and the bowler. And perhaps a tweak to the field. Yeah, he's waving Moeen in from that deep backward square leg boundary, so he comes jogging inside the circle. Third man drops back. So deep point and deep third. One slip. This is muscled away, but without any timing. Behind square on the leg side, Moeen will go back to where he's just been. And that's a square leg boundary. We come back for 2. Pereira to 29. Score moves on to 44 for 2. With 1 ball left of the 8th. You think perhaps the 50 over format might help Sri Lanka rather than the kind of crash bang wallop with the T20 and the pressure that you get to try and keep scoring. The chance to try and build an innings might help them in this longer format. Willie in and bowling up and over point. Rashid sweeping round. He'll stop the ball. He won't catch it. But he does really well, actually. One-hander, just palming the ball down. He knew he was right by the boundary sponge. Didn't have too much room to manoeuvre. With his left hand, just pushed the ball down to the ground, picked it up. And the score ticks along to 46 for 2. Pereira 31, Shanaka on 1.
Yeah, I think T20 format, if as a batter anyway, in terms of Sri Lanka trying to put on some runs, if it's a flat wicket and it's coming on, then it's no problem, right? It just kind of happens. Whereas I think with the longer format, if the pitch is not there and you need a few overs to get yourself set, you don't worry so much that you're eating up too much time into the game. And I think that's what it looked like in the T20s. They were just frantically, we got to go. Ended up playing so wild and the pitch wasn't there, and then it looked all very messy. Whereas today, it's 1, a good wicket. 2, if you have a bad ball or 2, you can step away and say, I've got time, we've got time. So I would argue at the moment the shapes are looking pretty good. I know there's been a couple of early wickets, but the shapes at the moment from Pereira and Shanaka looking a little bit more solid. They just need to give themselves as a unit 10 overs together, and then it changes the game.
Shanaka on strike as Chris Woke starts his 5th over. But as he starts in, something distracts him, something didn't feel right. He moves his little marker disc back a yard or 2. Sprints back to the top of his mark and comes bouncing back in again. From the Finkel end of the ground, right on over the wicket bowling. Playing forward is Shanaka. Little edge perhaps, yes. Shanaka departs for 1. Sri Lanka lose their 3rd in the 9th. 2nd for Chris Wokes. 46 for 3.
That was the beauty of a delivery after just talking about the opportunity to try and stay together. But to be fair, this delivery was good. Classic Chris Wokes, sort of angled into that middle line and then hit the seam and shaped away and just took that beauty of an outside edge, easy as you like for Bairstow. It's a classic dismissal, really, with a newish ball.
Yeah, it's a lovely ball, wasn't it, from Chris Wokes?
I'm worried for Sri Lanka because Shanaka is one of the ones who got a half century, looks one of the better ones in the T20. Already he's back in the hutch too.
Plenty of podcasts, by the way, to keep you entertained at the moment as well, including the new edition of No Bowls with England bowler Kate Cross and World Cup winner Alex Hartley. I think it started with an argument between the pair of them, but nothing new there. Just go to the TMS podcast stream on BBC Sounds and you'll find No Balls there. Kate and Alex.
Two of my favourite human beings.
They are bonkers, aren't they?
They are. It'll be fun. Definitely spend some time listening to those two.
So Hasaranka, the new batter, to join the captain. And problems for Sri Lanka here. 3 wickets down in the power play. 46 for 3. Having had such a torrid time in the T20 series. Neither side in particularly great form in 50 over cricket in truth, but Sri Lanka on the back of a defeat against Bangladesh in their last 50 over series. Losing 3 wickets in the power play as well.
Yeah, this is not the ideal scenario for Hasaranka as well. He's more down for the lower order. Have a bit of fun, express yourself. This is a very different challenge really to knuckle in for a little while there's still good seam movement off the pitch,
as demonstrated by that last delivery from Chris Woakes, which was a beauty. So Hasaranka waits, 1 slip in place. Woakes in and bowling, just pushing him back, defends that into the offside, just behind square, and there is no run. 46 for 3. The skills of Chris Woakes with that new ball, a little shape away, bringing the batter forward, little thin edge through to the keeper. Bairstow takes the catch. Plenty of smiles on the faces of the England players. Walks past umpire golf balls. Hasaranka played it as though he was a little late on it, but he gets bat on ball, squared up a fraction, just push it out into the offside. Owen Morgan is an extra cover to field, and there is no run.
I'm just wondering with that one as well whether it just sort of stayed a little bit lower than he expected, so he just held on to it. Just seeing a little bit of a stat coming up on that wicket against Shanaka that we just saw. Some good seam movement, more off the pitch than all the other deliveries. Got it talking.
Walks in and bowling again, and Hasaranka turning a ball which is angled onto his pads, out into the onside. There's no run. You can't beat it when you get the ball to talk. Happy days.
Happy days.
Just what you want.
Slightly depends what you're making the ball say.
Perfectly fair point. No?
I mean, what are the options?
Well, in my village career, it was please hit me as hard as possible.
2 balls left with Woakes ball, just back of a length. Hasaranka forward again, defending into the offside. It gets picked up by Owen Morgan, and there's no run.
That's a whole sketch, that, isn't it? What does the cricket ball say? I mean, what is it going to say after you drop it?
It's going to say something like, must do better. See me after school.
That's a shocker.
Yeah. I'm not that slippery. Last ball of the 9th. There's Woakes to Hasaranka. He's off the back foot and pushing away into the offside. Tumbling stop inside the ring by Liam Livingston. End of the 9th over. 46 for 3. Ebony, a few words from you, and then Atif is coming in.
Well, I was going to say a few words, but Andy?
Just on Chris Woakes mentioned he'd become the 6th England bowler to reach 150 wickets in this format. Jimmy Anderson leads the way with 269, and Darren Gough, Stuart Broad, Andrew Flintoff and Adil Rashid are the others to reach the 150 mark. And Woakes has been particularly outstanding in the first 10 overs. Since the start of the 2016 home summer, he's taken 52 wickets in 59 innings in which he's bowled inside the first 10 overs. And the next highest wicket taker for England in that phase of innings is Willie with 22. Woakes averages 23 inside the opening power play. By comparison, Willie averages 36, Wood 56, Archer 30, so he's been superb for England.
Willie back in now. That ball's gone high up in the air. It's taken a top edge and it'll fall just short of the fielder at deep third. Well, good morning, everybody. 47 for 3 the score. And yeah, good morning, Ebbs. Good morning, Andy. How are you both?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm good. I think it's going to be an interesting one. Pereira's playing his shots. I think the captain has other ideas. There's no sign of just settling in, which I think we can understand.
Absolutely. Barely faced much of the ball so far. He's faced 16 deliveries now. He's on 32. And nobody else has managed to get into double figures for Sri Lanka. It's been a difficult phase, as we expected, sadly, for them. It's a glorious day, but it's a difficult day if you're a Sri Lanka fan. As Willie in once again, this time full swinging delivery. There's a big appeal, but that was swinging down leg side. Sort of a not quite half-hearted, I'm going to say three-quarter-hearted appeal there. Now Owen Morgan's pondering the review. It did look like it was going down leg, and Owen Morgan's not that interested. He's dismissed it. 47 for 3, the score remains after 9.2 overs. Yeah, I mean, we did kind of expect this, Abs, isn't it? We kind of expected England to be quite dominant, and Sri Lanka, a threadbare team. They've got batsmen who ordinarily may be coming lower down the order, batting at number 3 and 4. It looked for a while when that opening stand was that they might manage to make it through the 50 overs, but it looks difficult now, doesn't it? I'll get your thoughts after this ball, as Willie Innings still got a slip in place and a straighter ball defended by Hasaranga for no run.
I think the problem as well for Sri Lanka is when you're playing the number 1 team in the world, there are no let-ups, right? So after Willie and Wokes, and you just heard the stats about how great Wokes and Willie are in the first 10, you then really start to look down the bowling lineup, and it just keeps coming at you, whether it's Adil Rashid, Moeen Ali. There's high-quality bowling, so it's not like you can think, right, we'll see off these two, and then it'll get easier until we can just shut up shop. Actually, you've got to try and score throughout.
David Willey in now once again, full ball, and it's been driven at. There was half an appeal there, but enough bat on it for it not to qualify for the LBW situation. 47 for 3 after 9.4 overs. And Hasaranga yet to get off the mark. Winindu Hasaranga, who was impressive in the T20 series for Sri Lanka, particularly in the first 2 games, bowled really well. I don't think he expected so much of a burden with the bat as is going to be expected of him now. But he was very promising with the ball. We look forward to seeing him in action later. Willie in again, this time again striking the batsman on the pad yet again, swinging down leg side, tidied up by the fielder at square leg. No run scored. There's a bit of swing for Willie at that. I think it's that 82, 83 mile an hour pace. He's kind of found the pace to let the ball swing when it's full.
Yeah, it's definitely moving, and he maybe just needs to start it almost an inch or two straighter, because at the moment all the balls are hitting sort of just into the leg side of the pad. But if he starts a little bit more towards it off and then let it come back in.
Willie in again. This time the ball's been pushed into the covers defensively for no run. That is the end of the 10th over. Sri Lanka 47 for 3. And, well, it's been a tale of 2 different ends, really. Kusal Perera, the captain of Sri Lanka, has been batting pretty well, with intent, with aggression. He's on 32 off 16 deliveries. But all around him, wickets have fallen today for Sri Lanka, who were put into bat by England after Owen Morgan won the toss. And Pathumsan Nisaka was the first to go, caught by Moeen Ali at mid-wicket for 5. And then Charitha Sri Lanka on debut is caught in the slips by Joe Root for a duck. And Dasun Shanaka shortly thereafter caught behind to Chris Wokes for 1. So not a lot of opportunity being grasped. I mean, a lot of people have talked, a lot of Sri Lankan commentators have talked about this being an opportunity for these players, like a brass ring. Grab that brass ring. This is your opportunity. There's been talk of certain players being held back and different experienced players being given the go-ahead. This is the opportunity to do something special. But how do you when you've got Wokes and Willie and now Mark Wood coming at you into the attack? The very, very exciting Mark Wood, one of the most exciting bowlers in the modern game, I'd say.
He's bowling wheels at the moment.
He is indeed. So many wheels that Ferreira on strike has just said, just give me 1 second.
I need a bit more time. Let me
just
check the eyes in. I mean, that's what's been so good about this is what I meant about there's no let up, right? You go off Wokes and Willie, who've been miserly, giving you nothing, swinging the ball, and then your next challenge is someone who's just been bowling 90 to 93 miles an hour pretty much all summer through the tests, through the T20s. His form and fitness has been excellent.
He really has been superb, and that pace is just so exciting, particularly when Wood and Jofra play games together. Just so good to watch, and I'd be very curious, and perhaps Andy will be able to help out with this. When was the last time England had 2 frontline bowlers available to them that could both bowl 90 miles an hour plus? It must have been a while ago. It might have been when Chris Silverwood himself was playing. I'm not sure, but perhaps Andy can tell us after. In fact, he can tell us now because the side screen's being moved if he knows.
Well, it slightly depends on which speed gun was in operation. Because there was.
Well, we're going to keep an eye on the speed gun now as Mark Wood comes in. Full delivery, takes a thick outside edge and is raced away to find third for a boundary. Well, that's the one danger of being a quick bowler that comes onto the bat quickly and goes off it as well. 4 runs and the 50 comes up for Sri Lanka. 51 for 3 after 10.1 overs.
A couple of questions there. I would have thought they might have consider keeping a slip or wide sort of slip in. I appreciate it's Pereira who's going a little bit better and playing shots, so they put more out protection. You just sense with Mark Wood, even for the first couple of balls while Sri Lanka are on the ropes, so that's gone right to sort of second slip, nice catchable height there.
Absolutely. Wood now in once again, this time angling onto the pads of Pereira, who just nudges it into the onside for no run. Absolutely, Abs. I mean, when you think of Owen Morgan, like the one word I think of when I think of Owen Morgan, except for, legend, is...
you should tell him that.
Is many a time have I told him that. I think I probably annoy him how often I've told him that. The word for Owen Morgan is ruthless, right? He's a ruthless captain. He doesn't take his foot off your neck when he's, when he's in control. And, in this scenario, absolutely you expect to slip. You almost expect two.
Yeah, and they haven't put one in now. I mean, they've got protection for a third man, so the big wild outside edge, if it's not fine.
Mark Wood now in once again. Another full ball driven nicely, but only as far as Chris Wokes at mid-off, and there is no run. 51 for 3, the score remains after 10.3 overs. I'm curious on those speed stats. I think it's the Pakistani in me who just loves fast bowling, and like Wood and Archer are just two of the most exciting things to happen to English bowling in a long time.
I don't know if Harmison and Flintoff together. I mean, there were some matches in which the speed gun was maybe quite generous in the late part of the first decade of the millennium.
Well, there was Craig White in that team as well. He'd bowl 90 miles an hour round the wicket.
A bit earlier than that. But.
Mark Wood now in once again. Full ball driven nicely down the ground, but stopped by the feet of Mark Wood. And I think that's going to hurt him a little bit later. He's not rubbing it right now, but dot ball.
No, but I don't know, Wood's recent speed stats in all formats have been pretty much the fastest an England bowler's bowled since speed data has been available.
It's impressive in so many ways, especially when you consider some of that will be in T20 cricket, and T20 you see a lot of variation and things like that. You see less variation from Wood. Do you think there's a chance he's just trying to make sure he retains a high average across his bowling in terms of speed? As in he comes again, we'll keep an eye on the speed gun once more. In comes Mark Wood, back of a length, defended into the onside by Pereira for no run.
To bowl fast, right, you've just got to have that mindset. From a young kid all the way through, I just want to bowl fast. And I just wonder if, like you say, he knows that he's in good run of form, he knows the body feels all right, he's charging in. He must love hearing, would you bowling miles, you're bowling wheels. It was quite funny, we interviewed him in the test, and he said between the first day and the second day, I feel like I've been hit by a baby rhino, but I'm going to go again. So he's clearly got that mindset of, regardless, I'm charging in.
In comes Mark Wood now once again, back of a length, this time nudged into on the leg side by Pereira, down to fine leg in fact for a single. Adil Rashid gets the ball back in. So 5 off that first over from Mark Wood, 52 for 3 after 11 overs. And Pereira with that single will keep the strike as well. By the way, we didn't mention Kusal Pereira in this innings has gone past 3,000 runs in one-day international cricket. So a terrific achievement for him as possibly, well, not even possibly, by far and away the most accomplished batsman in the Sri Lankan 11.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel for him a little bit at the moment because, he's going to have to take the gloves, he's leading the ship, he's scoring the runs. And he's arguably one of the most experienced players now out there, and with all the challenges that are going on in terms of contract standoffs in Sri Lanka, all that sort of stuff going on, it does help actually if your captain is because I tell you what it helps him do when he goes back in the changing room.
Yes.
If you need to have a word or two at some of the players, if you've put some runs on the board, you can say a lot more than if
absolutely
if you get out for no runs.
He's got a terrific average as well, in the 30s, in the early 30s. 32 is his average so far, and 6 ODI centuries to his name. Looking good right now. I don't want to jinx him or anything, but he's looking good at the moment. As Sam Curran into the attack now, starts with a full swinging delivery. He's been pushed into the covers, and there is no run. Well, they thought about a single on that misfield, but thought better of it. No run taken. 52 for 3, the score remains. And he's been very good across most formats. I mean, he's got a first-class average in the 40s as well. Test average of 30 plus. I mean, I know when you think of the glory days of Jayawardena and Sangakkara, even going back to Arjuna Ranatunga and Arvinda de Silva, you expect a higher average, but it's a different era now as Sam Curran this time strikes the pad of Pereira, and there's a bit of bat on that as well. It's worked into the leg side. We'll wait for the umpire signal. There is none, so that's going to count as runs. 53 for 3 now. In fact, it has been signalled leg by eventually. 36 off 24. He's going at a decent strike rate. He says his batting hero is Sanath Jayasuriya. And there's a bit of Jayasuriya about him, isn't it?
Yeah, I love Jayasuriya. Watching as a kid, it was the shots through the offside, like the extra cover kind of region. Bit of flair.
Andy.
Kusal Pereira, his overall career average is 32, but he has had better form in recent years.
As Curran in now, short ball has been defended into the ground by Hasaranga for no run.
At the end of 2016, after 65 one-day innings, his average was just 26, but since then, since the start of 2017 and 35 innings, he's averaging 43 with a strike rate of 96, so he's had the best form of his career in this format in the last 4 years or so.
It's good timing for England as well, but yes, it does make me a little bit sad to see Sri Lankan cricket in this position, especially when you consider their contributions to cricket overall. And we talk about players like Sanath Jayasuriya's Curran in once again, thick outside edge off the bat of Hasaranga, has raced away to find third, and there's an excellent stop in the deep by Mark Wood. That prevents the boundary. They do get back for 2, so Hasaranga on his 12th delivery has got off the mark. Sri Lanka 55 for 3.
Yeah, a couple of things about, what you need most would be to have a good structure is you need a good domestic structure. Yep. I was having a chat actually with Jimmy this morning about you also need international junior cricket, so you think of the under-19s, all those sort of levels with high-quality coaching, and then you need the money, right? Yes. The money that keeps the players happy.
As Curran in now, short ball, bouncer has gone over the head of Hasaranga, comfortably left, and was so high, in fact, that it's been given a wide by the umpire at square leg for height.
So arguably all those things are out at the moment. We know the contract negotiations are in a standoff. And I think that what I understand is they want to move to more of a performance-based pay model rather than, I suppose, more of a flat fee, which means that, they may be trying to push Sri Lanka to say, right, you get paid when you perform X, but then that...
Curran in full ball, driven through the covers beautifully by Hasaranga. This has got some legs on it. It might caught it to the boundary. There are 2 men in pursuit, and there's a sliding effort, I should say. In vain. 4 runs for Hasaranga. He's moved on to 6 now. Sri Lanka 60 for 3 after 11.5 overs. And yes, you talk about performance-based pay. That's a shot worth $1 million. Anyway.
That was, yeah. Well, I was going to say, just about that shot, Sam Curran, we saw it in the T20s. I'll come back to the other point, but Sam Curran in the T20s was bowling a lot of short balls, and he's got the field set for sure. So that was one of the rare ones that was a little bit full. It wasn't too full. That allowed him just to lean into, push the hands through.
The glory days of Sri Lankan cricket. They played power play cricket before power plays were a thing. I vividly remember Kalawitharana and Jayasuriya in the mid-90s as Curran in now, back of a length again, defended into the onside. And that is the end of the 12th over. 60 for 3 after 12. Good run rate from Sri Lanka, 5 runs and over. It's just that wicket column that'll make them a little bit wary. And yeah, it was the cricket they played was so extraordinary. And of course, we forget they won a World Cup in 1996 against all the odds, beating Australia in the final. It was a bit of an upset, but it wasn't. They revolutionised the game. And sort of 25 years on, the cricket's in disarray.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is money, though. And we talk so much about you needing a global game, and at the moment the dominant top 3 who test cricket can fund a fair bit between Australia and keeping a lot of income coming in, then all the broadcast rights, all these sort of things. So without that flow of cash over that period of time, in the same way some other nations are, it becomes hard. Also, I'm thinking as a player, there's nothing worse than disgruntled players going out to try and perform at the top level.
Can't be a great atmosphere. Mark Wood in now from wide of the crease. A short ball that's just been defended into the offside for no run. 60 for 3, the score remains.
And then if you're getting paid on a performance, or they're moving towards that direction, you're thinking, well, at the moment our performances are 8th, possibly 9th.
9th in the world.
Have they gone down now to 9th, or is it still around 8th? But then you start to, as a player, you'd start to panic. You're thinking, well, hold on, is this going to actually mean that my levels are going down? The other thing we looked at as well is how many players in the Sri Lankan are playing IPLs or the bigger tournaments, and they weren't many. So they're not getting the top up or the big paychecks.
Sure. As Mark Wood in once again. Back of a length worked into the leg side by Pereira. They take the first one quickly. They want the second, but the ball comes in very, very quickly from the deep. That was a quick ball, 90 miles an hour. Livingston quickly on there. 61 for 3. Results?
Yes, Sri Lanka are 9th in the current ODI rankings. Also, one of the factors in their cricket has been the selection and the incredible churn of players that they get through. I know in the T20s, no team had used more players in T20s over the last 5 years than Sri Lanka, and I'll get up the numbers for their one-day side as well, but they've only played 14 games since the World Cup. I think they got through 35 different players in those 14 matches.
Wow. Extraordinary. And we've talked about the captain turnover as well. They've turned over 6 captains in 7 years, Sri Lanka, which is not a sign of consistency. I mean, we've talked a lot about the players that, and their indiscretion yesterday, as in comes Mark Wood, back of a length pushed to backward point for no run. I mean, obviously it's massively irresponsible, right? And I understand that, but I do have some sympathy for them. It's difficult to be cooped up in a hotel, having taken a pounding for 3 games in a row. Your home press is going after you. You're being criticised from all angles. You wanting to get out for a bit of fresh air, I can kind of identify with that.
I have to admit, I felt for them. It didn't look like they were misbehaving. It just looked like they were hanging out outside late. Just maybe needed that fresh air,
Well, Mark Wood in now with a slip in place and a short ball, very short, just nips through to Johnny Bairstow behind the stumps. And the umpires just have a glance at each other, but they deemed that one okay. 91 miles an hour as well. So Wood is cranking up the pace.
Yeah, look, I have to admit, I felt for the players because, one, the embarrassment of getting caught. 2, it genuinely just looked like they were outside. And I know from our time last year in the bio bubble, sometimes you just want a little walk around outside, just slightly get out of the environment, especially when you're losing. It all becomes like it's on top of you.
Without a doubt. Mark Wood in once again. Full and fast ball's just been pushed past backward point to the deep third region. We take a single. Sri Lanka move on to 62 for 3 now. Hasaranga's picked up the pace after 11, his first, not scoring off his first 11 deliveries. Got 7 off 17. Pereira on 37 off 26. Great strike rate, looking good. And they'll be looking to build a bit of a partnership here to try and get Sri Lanka to competitive total. What would that be, Ebs, I wonder?
I was saying this morning, I think 250, even though I don't think that's enough in 50 over cricket, 250 is a milestone.
As in comes Mark Wood, and this time beats the outside edge through to the keeper with an absolute beautiful ball. And it was quick as well from Mark Wood, 90 miles an hour. That was very, very impressive. Well, 62 for 3. As commentary continues on BBC 5 Live Sports Extra, digital radio, online, and via the BBC Sounds app. But Radio 4 longwave listeners are going to be leaving us briefly for the shipping forecast. And that's not all. I'm also going to be leaving to make way for Simon Mann. A few more thoughts from you, Abs, as Simon makes his way in.
Yeah, just in terms of score, I mean, they're going comfortably at the 6s in the power play down to sort of about 4.8 now. And that's a comfortable rate. The issue for them is just about losing wickets. If they can maintain some wickets in hand, build a bit of a partnership and get 250 on the board, then it becomes a score they can work with, Simon.
Indeed. Here's Hasaranga on strike, and Curran, left arm over the wicket, goes into bowl to him. He's got a slip in, Curran, nudged away by Hasaranga down towards fine leg, off for a single. And the score goes to 63 for 3. We're in the 14th over. Yeah, the run rate's been pretty good, thanks to Pereira, who's 37 from 27 balls. I mean, he's had his luck. There's a couple that have fallen just short of fielders on the bounce. But he's got away with it, and he's capable. He's a very experienced player, of course. He's playing his 105th one-day international today. And his strike rate is 92 in one-day cricket. He's on strike. Curran ball short. It's pulled away. Hits that hard into the surface, hard into the square, out towards Moeen Ali, deep forward square leg. They've run one, they come back for the second. Throw goes in at the non-striker's end. And Curran leaves it, it's backed up by 2 behind him. 65 for 3 in the sunshine. at the Riverside, Emirates Riverside, just outside of Chesterley Street. It's a lovely scene. It's melting the tarmac on the roads today, the sun up in the northeast. And those are turned up today, being rewarded. And I've seen some interesting cricket so far as well. That was a no ball at last delivery from Sam Curran. They're just checking the overstepping. They're just seeing the replay. Yeah, there's nothing behind the line. A little bit of his back foot was just perhaps touching the line, but that's not good enough. Here is Curran then. Free hit goes in bowls to Pereira. Has a wipe at that one and hits it out towards deep back of square leg. Moeen comes in and it is only a single. They walk through. 67 for 3. And that single in the 14th over. Curran in the second over has gone for 12 so far. Hasaranga on 8. They're batting at number 5 today. And basically must-needs for Sri Lanka with players missing. 4 batters out of their lineup. Avishka Fernando, Gunnar Tilaka, Mendes and Dick Weller. Curran sets off into bowl to Hasaranga, and Hasaranga nibbles on that one, very nearly caught behind. He was looking to run that away down towards Mark Wood on the deep third boundary. A bit of bounce there from Curran as well as it flew through to Bairstow. Anyway, he gets away with it. I mean, one thing for Sri Lanka is they do have a lot of players here. They have 24 players in their squad, so they can, in one sense, afford to be missing a few. But it's actually a sort of whole tranche of batters in that top order. So some players lower down the order have to do a different sort of job today, including Hasaranga, who nudges that down towards fine leg. Picked up by Rashid, who returns to Bairstow. And 68 for 3. Welcome back to our Radio 4 long wave listeners after the shipping forecast. You've missed a few balls. 68 for 3, including a no ball bowled by Curran. So a free hit, and he went for a single. We're in the 14th over. Kusal Pereira is there on 40 from 29 balls, and he's back on strike. Hasaranga bumped up the order today. He's on 9, leaning on his bat at the non-striker's end. And back with Sam Curran. Past umpire Robinson, into bowl to Pereira. Pereira turns that away into the onside, short of mid-on. That's Rashid territory, and they're through for another run. 69 for 3. And the left-hand, right-hand, it's no ball. For the left-hander, Pereira, Rashid is fielding at mid-on, and for the right-hander, he has to go all the way down to fine leg. So you certainly do some miles. You can do some miles in these one-day internationals. 69 for 3. Last ball of the 14th over. Here is Curran to bowl to Hasaranga, forces that away, but straight to Billings at backward point. There's no run. It's the end of the over. 69 for 3 after 14 overs. Is a full day's Test cricket, Jimmy, who's back alongside me, harder than a half day's one-day international when you're out there for 50 overs? And that seems a strange question to ask, but you're rushing here, there and everywhere. You're out there for 50 overs. You're in the field for 3.5 hours without much of a break. Whereas at least in a Test match, you get to come on and off, and you probably aren't rushing around as much.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I'm trying to think back to when I played. It's been a while since I played a one-day international.
When was the last time you played a one-day international?
It was about 6 years ago, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's a Test match. I think the thing about a Test match is it's not necessarily the day that you have in the field, it's then having to back it up the next day and how your body feels after.
Here's Wood bowling to Pereira. It goes in round the wicket. Pereira respects that delivery right on target, and he pushes it back to the bowler, who picks up, and there's no run.
But yeah, 50 overs in the field, especially you watch this England side now, and the intensity that they field at is pretty impressive for 3.5 hours. And they all, as you just mentioned about Rashid, they're changing positions. They all make sure that they're in the right position for the right batsman. So they want to get a good fielder down to third man for Pereira, because he likes hitting in the air down there. And then they want them in the ring for the other batsman.
There's Pereira on strike, and Wood goes in to bowl to him. Short, that flashes through. That was a sharp bouncer. It looked like it anyway. Pereira managed to get out of the way of it. Although he's aggressive and in an aggressive mode, he flinched there just to get underneath it. It was 90 miles an hour. from Wood. And that was, if you're going to bowl a short ball, that's pretty much where you want to bowl it as far as Mark Wood, in at the sort of right shoulder or the right ear hole of the left-handed Pereira. Who is that down there in the distance? He's way away in the distance down there at fine third. Jimmy mentioning it's important to have a good fielder down there. That's a ball from Wood on the hip there of Pereira. It's turned away backward a square. And does that come off the thigh pad now? It's off some bat or glove there. 70 for 3.
Sam Curran down there, I believe. I do like how they do it. We saw it in the T20s as well. The way that the field it's not like Owen Morgan's there shouting directions at everyone. They sort of know where they need to be. There's no egos. They're like Chris Jordan, particularly in the T20s, was making sure he got in the most prominent position in the field.
Wood bowls to Hasaranga, strikes him on the thigh pad. I think there might have been some bat in it as well. Goes dribbling out into the onside forward square, and they go through for a single. Yeah, there was some bat in it. 71 for 3. In the 15th over, Hasaranga on 10, Pereira on 42. Well, I suppose, especially in T20, there's so much changing of position, and you have to be quick as well because of the over rate. So if you have to be told the whole time, you're going to have a very hoarse captain at the end, especially on a windy day. And also quite a frustrated captain as well. If you've got to put everyone out, there are times when Morgan will slow it down and really direct the traffic. But Wood bowls, very full, driven by Pereira towards mid-off to Oakes. He's inside the circle, and there's no run. So would it be as detailed as before the match? In any given situation, every fielder would know exactly where they're supposed to be, pretty much, for each batter, left-hander, right-hander. Yeah, definitely.
Obviously start off with the slips, get the good catches in there, and your backward point and cover point are the key positions in that situation, and then as the game goes on, it's probably the deep fielders that need to be the better fielders.
Wood bowling slower ball, turned away by Pereira into the onside towards deep backward square leg. And they're through for a single. Pereira to 42, 72 for 3. Actually slower ball. That was 81 miles an hour from Wood. It's still pretty quick for most. And a drinks break, our first break of the match, coming at the 15 over mark. Sri Lanka 72 for 3, Hasaranga on 10, and Pereira 43. 2 for Wokes and 1 for Willie. 23 for 1, 24 for 2, 46 for 3. We rather feared for Sri Lanka, but these two are trying to rebuild, and the scoring rate is reasonable as well.
Still a little more on the Sri Lankan player churn, the actual number of players they've used since the last World Cup. In this their 15th match with 3 debuts today is 37, which is the most of any team. West Indies have used 34 in 21 games, and India 26 in 18. So Sri Lanka have really been getting through the players. In the last 5 years, they've used 60 players in ODI cricket, which again is the most by any team in the world. And Chris Wokes' power play spell today, 5 overs, 4 maidens, 2 for 6. It's only the second time an England bowler has bowled through the power play in a one-day since 2004 and taken 2 wickets for fewer than 7 runs, which is a bit of a niche stat, but it shows.
But it's made you very happy. Yeah.
Everyone loves a good Chris Wokes stat.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see him on the field, really. He's had such a barren time of it for one reason or another, with his central contract, barely playing for England. Let's catch up with Russell Arnold, who's having to watch this game from home today. What have you made of it so far, Russell?
Mixed feelings. The scoreboard looks okay. You take the fact that 3 wickets are down, they've got a pace, and England have a very good pace attack and the bowlers up front. But the fact is, going forward, they have a lot of all-rounders. They have players who can bat, though they do lack in experience.
At the moment, the crowd noise is quite.
Can you hear me, Simon?
Yeah, you might have to just speak up a bit, Russell, because the crowd noise effects just drown you out a bit.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that they did lose the 3 wickets. Pathum Nissanka, he plays the pull shot well. got the bottom of the bat. Charitasa Lanka fending at one just short outside the off stump, and then Dasun Shanak also in that corridor. But the fact is, the 72 for 3, Hasaranga and Kusal Pereira been very impressive, especially the captain batting freely. He's playing his shots. If it's there, he's putting it away. And that's very, very important. If they can bat the next 10-15 overs, the likes of Ramesh Mendis, Dhananjay Lakshan, Chamika Karunaratne, they can all use the bat. So it's about somehow taking it deep, somehow trying to get to about 250 and give your bowlers a chance. So it's mixed feelings at this stage, but Kusal Pereira definitely the key.
Great, thanks very much, Russell. So the players are about to resume after the drinks break. 72 for 3 after 15 overs. And Rashid is going to bowl for the first time today. And it's going to be Kusal Pereira to take strike. We can't resume just a moment. One of the security guards who guard the pitch, I think during the drinks break, have to stride off the ground. It's quite big boundaries here, so it's taking a while to get off. I think they might jog off, but they're not. They're walking off as if they're out for a stroll in the Durham countryside. Anyway, here is Rashid. He's going to bowl right arm over the wicket to the left-handed Pereira. He goes in now and bowls, and Pereira plays that quietly into the onside, and Rashid scuttles after it towards mid-wicket to pick up, and there's no run. And Rashid, who had a strange old day on Saturday where England just went through with seam for, was it 16 overs? You got to go at the end. But it was that sort of day, really. The ball seamed and swung. Here is Rashid bowling to Pereira, who covers up and plays that away into the offside towards backward point. And there's no run. That must have been the googly, was it, from Rashid there? The way Pereira played that. Not easy to tell. We're commentating from fine leg, but looking over at the back of the batsman, Rashid tosses that one up. That's clipped away towards deep mid-wicket. England have 3 fielders back on the leg side boundary for the left-hander, and one of them is Willie, who returned it at deep mid-wicket. 73 for 3 in the 16th, and Pereira moves to 44. Pereira just seems to have reined himself in a bit of late. Of course, we're out of the power play, and he did play shots in the power play. I feel he's so important. His team's chances, as Russell was saying there, getting up to around 250. Rashid moves in and bowls, and forward goes Hasaranga, playing that towards backward point, and there's no run. Can you dig out Hasaranga's batting stats, his batting pedigree, Andy? Up at number 5 today. What's the highest he's batted before today in an international match, for example? Here is Rashid bowling to him, and he covers up, plays defensively into the offside, and there's no run. Certainly a talented young bowler, but hoping to do a job with the bat today. 73 for 3. They've got the scoreboard working way to our right-hand side. That wasn't working earlier. Here is Rashid bowling down the leg side, and Hasaranga watches that drift by, saying, I'll take the wide, thank you. Taken by Bairstow. 74 for 3. Rashid back to his mark. Hasaranga not quite ready, so umpire Robinson has to hold him up. Rashid's got a slip in. That's Joe Root. Took a catch earlier. Rashid bowls. Forward goes Hasaranga. Just quietly having a look here at Rashid in that first over. 74 for 3 at the end of it.
Yeah, previously in his Sri Lanka career, he's never batted higher than 7 in any format. He's played 4 tests. This is his 22nd ODI, and he's played 19 T20s. So never previously batted in the top 6.
More from Jimmy, and then it will be Scott Reed to pick up the commentary.
Yeah, interesting first over from Rashid. No spin, or no sign of any spin. So it'd be interesting to see how these 2 Sri Lanka batsmen play him in the coming overs, whether they look to attack him because of the lack of spin. Could be an option for them. We'll just have to wait and see on that one.
Here comes Wood around the wicket bowling. That's worked away off the pads down towards fine leg for singles. Score moves on to 74 for 3. And 75 for 3. Pereira to 45 brings Hasaranka back on strike. Wood into his 4th over. Just listen to what Andy was saying before about the turnover of personnel in the Sri Lankan one-day side. You look at the amount of one-day international appearances by Owen Morgan. Has he played more than the entire Sri Lankan team combined? It's 240 odd, I think, Owen Morgan. Into the 17th, there's Hasaranga on strike, waiting for Wood, who comes steaming back in, over the wicket this time. Just back of a length, go bounce and carry through to Bairstow. It nips into the gloves of the England wicket-keeper, and there is no run. Revving up the engines here, isn't he, Mark Wood? It's so good to watch, isn't he, when he bowls like this?
Yeah, well, he always steams in, but I think there'll be that extra mile an hour or two playing at his home ground in front of his home crowd. Absolutely loves it up here.
Indeed, local legend. Got a great cheer, didn't he, when his name was introduced for the first time. Around about 7,000 or so inside Emirates Riverside. Watching Wood, who's in again, a little bit fuller this time, playing a miss once more from Hasaranga, and then Wood tumbles off his feet through to the keeper, no run.
Sri Lanka, between them, have 198 ODI caps. Pereira has 105 of them. They have 3 players on debut and 3 more in their second one-dayer, so that is fewer ODI appearances by considerable margin. Yeah. Owen Morganson is 244th for England and Ireland combined.
Fair to say then a team that's in transition, that's getting used to international one-day cricket. Wood bowls again, another one that beats Hasaranga, who's pushing forward and brings a smile on the face of Mark Wood through to Johnny Bairstow. He's beaten Hasaranga now on 3 successive occasions.
Yeah, talk about Mark Wood's speed, but his control as well. He seems to get better every game. He's get it in the right area, but good seam as well. So if there's any movement there, he'll find it. Just asking questions of the batsman, and I think at that speed you can see it's that sort of length where you're not sure whether to go forward or back. And at this speed, batsmen are very, very happy to sort of hang back a little bit, I'd say.
Again, bowling, another play and a miss. Through to the keeper, another smile on the face of Mark Wood. Another one ignored by the batsman. Actually, to be fair, Hasaranga, little cheeky smile on his face as well. He knows he's up against some exceptional fast bowling here. He's been beaten on 4 successive occasions, playing away from his body. Could easily have nicked one of these through to Bairstow, but still there on 10. Final ball of the 17th over coming up, 75 for 3. Mark Wood looking for his first scalp of the day. In from the Finkel end over the wicket to Hasaranga. Gets bat and ball this time. Push it out into the extra cover region. Picked up by Moeen Ali. It's a terrific over though, James, by Mark Wood. At the end of it, 75 for 3, Sri Lanka.
Yeah, great over. Asked a lot of questions there. Could have easily found the edge. But I'm sure if he sticks at it, if he bowls that well throughout the rest of the innings, he'll surely pick up a couple of wickets, because that was very impressive.
You mentioned consistency in length from Mark Wood. That equally as important as his speed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially at this level, if some batsmen actually quite like that extra bit of pace on the ball, and if they're given width, if you give them width to play with, you can use the pace of the ball and find the gaps a lot easier. You don't have to try and hit it too hard. So having that control is just as important. Yeah.
Pereira waiting. Rashid in and bowling. Leans forward, pushes defensively into the offside. Scooped up at extra cover, no run. 75 for 3. We start the 18th over. Kusal Pereira on 45 from 40 deliveries. Holding things together for Sri Lanka. She bowls again. It'll clip away off the pads, just in towards the square leg region. Up comes David Willey to field. Pereira moves to 46. Score moves on to 76 for 3. Actually, reading an article with regards to George Garton, and of course he not making his debut in this fixture, but he He's asked a question about kind of speed, and the speeds he bowls at as Rashid tosses one up, slapped over mid-on by Hasaranka. That's gone for 4 runs. That's signalled by Chris Wokes as he jogs up towards the boundary to field the ball. Hasaranka moves to 14, 80 for 3, halfway into the 18th over. And George Garton was asked about speed and trying to bowl quicker, and he said, actually, I've been trying to bowl more accurately more than trying to generate the speed. He's been working with James Kirtley at Sussex. He says that's something that he's looked at in the last few months. She bowling again, Hasaranka pushing forward towards wide mid-off for a single. Moves up to 14. Score moves on to 81 for 3. It's quite intriguing. We do get excited when we see a bit of pace, don't we? But listen to someone like George Garton saying how much he's been working on his other skills. Swept by Pereira, just behind square, only a fraction behind square. Back towards Liam Livingston, who scoops the ball up, and Pereira moves on to 47. Score to 82 for 3. Brings Hasaranka back on strike. He's slapped Adil Rashid over mid-on for 4. He's on 15. Slip in place. It'll flatter this time. He shuffles right back into the crease. Works it out into the onside. Picked up by the England captain Owen Morgan. It's the end of the 18th over. 82 for 3, Hasaranka on 15 and Pereira on 47. Andy?
Just a little more on Sri Lanka's inexperience. This is the fewest appearances between them that they've had in a side in a one-day international since the 1983-84 season, when they were quite a new force in international cricket. So this is sort of unprecedented since their early years as an international side.
And the last 5 or 6 years, they've gone through some captains, haven't they? They must have gone through 5 or 6 different skippers in that period of time.
Yeah, 6 captains in 7 years, I believe, right. Which is, again, not ideal just for that sort of stability that you need. You need to get, you look at England and the way Owen Morgan's captained the side over the last 6 years. And he's taken the team where he wants it to go, they're playing the style of cricket he wants them to. I think that's really important, and getting the players that he wants as well. And obviously, without that sort of stability, it's hard to form a successful team.
Certainly long-term planning, isn't it, by England in comparison to... It seems like Sri Lanka's chop and change and searching for a bit of success. Mark Wood's spell has come to an end. It was a fiery one. It was good to watch. Sam Curran comes back into the attack. 2 overs for 14. Pereira on strike. Left arm of the wicket, just eased off his hip. Just in front of square on the leg side for a single. And Rashid comes up from back square leg to field. Score ticks along to 83 for 3. Pereira to 48. It's Hasaranka back on strike. As Sam Curran walks backwards to his mark. Hasaranka looks out towards the leg side. Sees a deep square leg, fine leg, deep third. Deep point as well. Backward point, extra cover. Mid-off, mid-on, and mid-wicket. Curran loops the ball up from one hand to the other. Left arm round the wicket this time. Steer down towards third for a single for Hasaranka. Up onto his toes, open face of the bat. Just angles it down towards Adil Rashid at third for 1. Hasaranka moves up to 16. Sri Lanka to 84 for 3.
George Garton's just come on the field, which has made me think of your point again about the speed and accuracy sort of balance that you want to try and get as a bowler.
It's Curran back over the wicket to Pereira. Has him up off his toes. One that just jags back in, and he brings the bat down on it, steers it out into the offside, turns and walks out towards square leg, and there's no run. What, a vibrator back up the bat. Takes his glove off as this one come back in. It hit him right on the glove, didn't it? Yeah. He might need a bit of treatment here as well, Pereira. And blow to his right hand as that ball came back in from Sam Curran.
Yeah, I just think on that, I think the accuracy, it's kind of like a batsman who wants to be a power hitter, a big T20 player. You need to have the basics right first. You need to have a base, and then you build on that. I think that bowling's the same. The accuracy should be the that's the thing that's going to get you wickets, no matter what speed you are. If you can nail down the basics and hitting the top of off as often as you can, then you can work on the speed after that. I think that's something that most bowlers will probably say. I think the accuracy, that's how you're going to get wickets. Move the skills, moving the ball, hitting the top of off as often as you can.
And that is all transferable for bowler, for batter, just getting the basics right, and then that will transfer to T20, to 50 over, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think like I said, with a batsman, you look at all the top batsmen in the world, they've got well, I'd say 95% of the best batsmen in the world, whether they're T20 or Test players, have got a good defence and a good technique. They've got those basics to fall back on if things aren't going right, and then you can play around with the different shots and the different ways of scoring, if you will. So yeah, I think really nailing down those basics as early on as possible is an absolute key.
Looks like Kusal Pereira's okay. It was a nasty blow to his right hand. He's had some treatment. Don't forget you can follow today's game via the BBC Sport website and app, including video highlights as Curran continues over the wicket and bowling. Flicked away off the hip, behind square on the leg side. Pereira gets one, moves to 49. Score moves on to 85 for 3. So let's see highlights of those 3 wickets and plenty more via the BBC Sport website and app. Just go to the text commentary, you'll find the clips there. And also tonight, BBC TV highlights on BBC 2 at 11:15, or available to watch at your leisure on the iPlayer with Ebony Rainford Brent and with James Anderson. Will you have removed your jacket for the TV coverage?
Yeah, well, it's a bit warmer outside than it is in here. I've got my big coat on.
I mean, it's baking hot. It must be 20 degrees. And Jimmy's all wrapped up like it's winter. Hasaranga waiting. Curran bowls. Goes back into his crease and pushes out into the offside. No run. It's a beautiful day. Bright blue sky, sunshine, a lovely atmosphere around the ground. 7,000 in watching the game. Could not have wished for better weather. First one-day international at Chesley Street since 2019. England's last group game was here against New Zealand. Curran bowls, back of length delivery, left by Hasaranga, just leaning back and bending his knees. Happy to allow that one to travel through to Johnny Bairstow. It's the end of the over, 19 gone. 85 for 3. Pereira on a very good 49 under the circumstances for his team. The captain, 49 not out, and Hasaranga on 16. Andy,
got a bit of an update on the number of captains Sri Lanka's got through in the last few years. We've understated it, in fact. In the last 4 years, so since this day in 2017, Sri Lanka's had 9 different captains in the 66 one-day internationals they've played. The next most a team has used is 5. South Africa and Zimbabwe both use 5 different captains. Australia 3, India 3, England just 2, Morgan and Joss Butler. So Pereira's the 9th. I can give you the full list if you want, to be completist about it.
Blimey, going through the skippers. The job of doom, isn't it, that one? There's Rashid bowls. Pereira nudges into the onside for 1, gets to 50. That's a terrific effort, it really is. Under the circumstances, it's been a pretty torrid few days for him as captain of the team. 3 players, of course, sent home for exploring the streets of Durham. He's come out and reached his 15th ODI 50. Leaning on his bat at the non-striker's end, perhaps happy to put all that to the back of his mind and get some runs and enjoy batting. Hasaranga back on strike. Goes for the onside, slog sweep. Has he timed it all the way for 6? I suspect maybe just bounced this side of the road, but they'll check it. Out towards that deep mid-wicket boundary. Got a hold of it, didn't he? Hasaranga. Whether 6 or 4, replays will tell us. A good-looking shot, nonetheless.
Yeah, I think that's Sam Billings out there at deep mid-wicket signalling 6, so he has timed it well enough to get over the rope. It's a good shot, and I suspected with the lack of spin that Rashid has been getting in his opening few overs that they were going to try and attack him at some point, especially Hasaranga, seeing how much difficulty he's had against the seam. He's going to look to be very positive against Adil Rashid.
Moves to 22. He's actually playing a really good supporting role for his captain here. I mean, he's been moved significantly up the batting order, but 22 from 37 with his skipper unbeaten on 50 at the non-strikers end. 92 for 3. Rashid bowling, goes right back, just trying to steer it down towards third. It's a tumbling stop just backward of point, and there is no run. Rashid halfway into his third over. And that one big slog sweep for 6 from Hasaranga. A little flatter. Delicate dab out towards backward square leg. Bairstow having to come and field the ball. Ball just deflected off the thigh pad, so leg by has been signalled. Hasaranga remains on 22. Sri Lanka moved to 93 for 3. Pereira back on strike. Field is on the leg side. Edge a little deeper, so deep mid-wicket, deep backward square. Rashid over the wicket bowling. Sweeping nicely through that square leg region, and sweeping for 4. Well, perhaps a little fortunate the 4, with David Willey coming round to try and stop the ball. He got to it as well. I think he got fingertips on it, but able to scoop the ball up, and it's 4 more for Pereira.
Clever shot. He's likes going aerial, does Pereira, but he's hit that all along the ground and hit it really hard, found the gap.
Rashid bowls to him, he goes back. Snap of the ball into the onside. Willey comes up from deep mid-wicket. That's the end of the over. 20 gone. 98 for 3. Hasaranga has 22. Pereira on 55 as James Anderson leaves us. Andy, what have you got?
Pereira's half-century came from 46 balls with 6 fours. He's since hit his 7th. It's his 21st score of 50 or more in his 100th one-day international innings. He has 600s amongst that. Only his second 50 against England in 16 innings. He averages fractionally under 20 against England. High score of 59 now within sight. There's 9 captains Sri Lanka's had in the last 4 years. Pereira, the current captain, Lahuru Tirumane, Dimith Karuna Ratne, Chandimal, Tishara Pereira, Lasith Malinga, Kapu Gedera, Upal Taranga and Angelo Matthews. 9 captains in 4 years. Is that enough, Ebbs?
That is enough, and I'm glad that you said all names.
With Curran balls, this one again just catches Pereira on the top of the arm perhaps, and he's crouching down on his knees. He's been hit already by Curran, one that hit the glove, and the Sri Lankan skipper is in the walls again.
Just trying to work out where that hit. It's on a. It looks like a soft bit of the arm, but he is in a bit of pain though. He went down quickly.
He did. He got hit in the last over from Curran, one that came back in and wrapped him on the glove, and it was a sore one. Physio had to come out and look at it, and that one just at the top of the arm, just below the shoulder.
I think he bowled it cross seam, Sam Curran, and then he was through the shot too early, so almost just facing it chest on. So it's hit his shoulder pretty nastily.
He kind of dropped the bat straight away, didn't he, and spun away and took his helmet and gloves off.
I'm no doctor, but I'm hoping that's right, because it's a soft part of the body, even if it's sore.
Yeah.
I suppose I always worry about bones, right? If it hits you on your fingers or your elbow or something like that, but it's genuine where they're putting a bit of free spray now. Yeah, it's a softer part.
Bit of muscle there.
Bit of muscle.
Yeah.
I always wonder what this free spray does. Like, does it actually do anything?
The old magic spray.
Yeah.
They've got 2 different types, haven't they? They've got like a free spray and a hot spray.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think so.
I think I prefer the hot spray.
Well, even on the warm day.
Even on a warm day, I'm just like, keep it warm.
Well, the old spray's been applied and various tape being strapped on. I mean, this is 55 from 49. Bearing in mind the build-up to the game, everything that's surrounded it, the T20 series. He's having to wear a few here, the skipper, but it's a great job, isn't it?
Yeah, and what I've liked most about his innings, actually, is he's not gone within his shell. You know, sometimes you think, right, I've got to dig in. Actually, he's played shots all the way through. His strike rate's been above 100 consistently, always taken the attack to the England bowlers, which forces them to think, rather than, sometimes when you're under the pump and you can go into your shell. It's a real captain's knock, like you say. He's wearing a couple. If he gets through this and keeps pushing on this partnership, which I don't know how much is worth now, but it seems to be reasonable.
These swept 4 in the last over, brought up the 50 partnership. Is now 52 from 12 overs.
There's a couple of spots though, aren't there? Just looking at the 2 that he got hit on replay.
from this Finkel end in particular, Curran's found a little bit, hasn't he?
Curran bowled a lot of short balls in that T20. Good to see him comfortable banging it in as a strategy.
And he's dusted himself off. He's had his magic spray. A bit of tape strapped onto the bicep. Blimey, the Sri Lankan captain in the walls, but it's a terrific 55 not out. Curran in and bowls a fullish ball which beats him. Plays forward, just shapes away into the gloves of Bairstow. And there is no run.
There was a good follow-up ball there. I wasn't sure what he was going to bowl after a sort of a nasty delivery, but he bowled it in a similar sort of length, actually. It didn't pop this time, but just nibbled. But it would have been one that he would have just thought, the danger ball, is it going to pop, is it not?
Playing in the batter's mind. Been hit on the hand, been hit on the bicep. Where's it coming next? Curran to Pereira, that cuts him in half and through to the keeper. And there is no run. Arms on heads from Sam Curran and from Johnny Bairstow. Pereira walks out towards square leg, clears his mind.
And I saw a few shakes of the hand as well, when the pain's there, but you don't want to show it when you're in front of the bowler. You kind of walk away to umpire and have a little moment.
Kind of trapped him on the crease. He went past the inside edge, over the top of the stumps. What's coming next for him? Gets forward, just nudges it back towards Curran. A decent length delivery picked up by blonde-haired Sam Curran, low down to his left-hand side. Wanders back to his mark. Pereira rehearses a few forward defence. Straps the gloves back on. He's unbeaten on 55, 98 for 3. 2 balls left of the 21st over. Sam Curran for England from the Finkel end. The lovely castle away to our right-hand side. Sun shining as he brings Pereira forward and strikes it nicely through the offside, just to the right of extra cover where Moeen Ali was lurking. Gets a run. Moves to 56. Happy perhaps just to be off strike for a few moments. 99 for 3.
I was just thinking exactly what you just said. You almost want just a little bit of time ideally if Hasaranga nicks a single, gets back on, just gives him maybe 3 or 4 balls. And then he sets.
Yeah, I'll look after you, skipper. I'll take the strike. Take a little single here. You have a breather. Change of line with Curran left arm around the wicket. It's nicely into it, defending into extra cover. End of the over, 21 gone, 99 for 3. Ebony, a few thoughts from you, and then it will be a tiff.
Well, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but I'm sat next to Mr. Zaltzman, and he has got a serious spread on. I'm just looking at him dominating. We're all socially distanced in here, but I've looked to my right and seen your neck of the woods, and you're spreading out, Andy.
Well, I've gone with a 3 pencil case strategy this summer.
And a 3 screen strategy.
So, yeah, I need...
all the space you can get.
Yes.
2 clipboards, 2 screens.
I've got a spare clipboard down here just in case there's a need for a third as well. So.
Well, listen, Ebs, you can't give him such a hard time. You've spread yourself out in the green room.
Yeah.
You've got so much gear.
You do need 2
and
screens.
Tablets and books and all sorts. Adil Rashid in now, and full ball's been defended on the front foot by Pereira for no run.
You always need 1 screen to watch the cricket, and then 1 to keep an eye on the score. So one's got the cricket on consistently, and then 1 you can...
But you're like at the cricket. You could just look out the window. Rashid in. Lots of flight given. There's a half an appeal there as the ball just squirts out off the pads of Pereira, and there is no run.
Replays.
Leave it on the big screen.
My eyes aren't that good.
ITs, of course, as Rashid comes in once more. Lots of flight given, driven by Pereira out to mid-wicket for a single. And that brings up the 100 for Sri Lanka, 100 for 3 after 21.3 overs. And it's applauded by the crowd here at Chester Street. An appreciative crowd enjoying some good cricket and a contest. An actual contest. And we see some Sri Lanka fans and some Sri Lankan flags floating around as well. It's a bit windy here. It's a gorgeous, clear day here in Durham. A little bit of wind going across the ground as Adil Rashid in once more. Back of a length and punched off the back foot by Hasaranga. Out to the man sweeping in the covers for a single. 101 for 3 now.
It just feels like they needed. They got the recovery. I don't want to jinx Sri Lankan fans, but it just feels like they're building this really, really nice partnership. Another good 10 overs.
As Adil Rashid once again, lots of flight given, but swept nicely by Pereira to the man sweeping at the deep square leg region. It's Willie who gets the throw back in. Another single taken. Pereira's going, the 58 or 57? Just slowed down a little bit, but setting himself up.
Yeah, I just feel like they're building a platform. I don't want to get too excited because I know last time I said something, a wicket happened. But they just need a meaningful score.
As Rashid in once more. Good length delivery, smashed high up in the air and straight down the ground. He didn't quite get a perfect connection on it. It's just kind of plugged golf style, as if it was hit with a pitching wedge. And the batsmen get back for 2. They'll take it. Hasaranga moves on to 25 now, 42 delivery. Sri Lanka 104 for 3 after 22 overs. And as you say, Ebony Rainford Brent, this partnership building nicely, worth 57 now. And Sri Lanka quietly will start thinking about what will be a competitive score. And, when they bowl, there's a lot of unpredictability there. There's mystery spin on offer as well today. And they'll be noticing, Chamira had a fantastic game in the third T20, took 4 wickets and bowled beautifully. So they'll think they've got more than a chance here.
I think they've got to get, if they can get to 40 overs with only losing, say, 2 more wickets max, that gives them, something to work with going into the last 10 where you can have a bit of freedom and flair. The danger where it looked like they lost 3 early on, you were thinking, could this just roll? But actually, this partnership has given them a really meaningful platform.
Sam Curran back in now, and he comes to Pereira. This time the ball's been worked into the leg side for a single. Pereira's been in the wars a little bit with Sam Curran. He's hit him on his hand and his arm. And the ball just taking off for Curran off certain lengths as well. Again, something that Dushmantha Chameera will be keeping his eye on, and Binaru Fernando as well. They're both
Fernando in particular.
Yeah.
A bit of height, the angle.
A bit of uneven bounce or extra bounce on occasion, a bit of lift. Yeah. There's a lot of cricket left to be played here, folks. 105 for 3 as in comes Curran, back of a length. This time again, worked neatly off the hips by Hasaranga into the leg side. They take the first one quickly and they will make it back for the second comfortably. Livingston with the throw. The score moves on again.
Better running as well. We looked at their running in the T20 and it was pretty woeful at times. Yes. But today, even just picking up that 2, good clear communication, quick out the blocks, make it comfortable. You just start to keep that scoreboard moving, relieve pressure.
Yes, absolutely. There was that run out in the third T20 that Livingston affected, and it was just really circumspect, really unsettled running in the middle as Curran in once more again, getting a bit of extra bounce as Hasaranga works it into the leg side for a single. The score moves on to 108 for 3. It's different. I imagine the transition back to ODI cricket for some of the England cricketers, they deliberately make some choices. I suppose it's harder to be as dynamic all the time over a 50 over spell. That's 3.5 hours, right? So, it seems that we'll come back to that point as Sam Curran comes in once more, this time pushed into the leg side by Pereira for another single. Just accumulating nicely here, Sri Lanka. It just seems like England kind of waiting for something to happen, whereas in the T20s, Owen Morgan just constantly seemed to be finding new ways to create pressure, create wickets from out of nowhere. And the Sri Lankan mindset kind of helped in that way. But with this partnership, it's just settling things a little bit, settling those nerves, creating a bit of an even keel. If you think of a match like a heart monitor, it's beeping consistently right now for Sri Lanka as Curran in back of a length, and this time the ball just shapes away from Hasaranga, pulls out of the shot. It was one of those leaves where the batsman will call it a leave and the bowler will call it a play and a miss. It's probably somewhere in between is the truth as it goes through to the keeper for no run. 109 for 3.
I'm wondering about this heart monitor. I've never heard cricket kind of ticking along described in that sort of way.
But it makes sense, right? It's kind of ticking away at the moment. There's no spikes. Does that mean
you're flatlining, as in you're a goner?
No, you've got a consistent, you're beep, beep, beep. You've got a consistent heart rate. As in comes Curran once more, back of a length, and pushed to the fielder at backward point. Good diving stop there by Owen Morgan. Prevents a single. 23 overs gone. 109 for 3 is Sri Lanka. And I think with the way they're accumulating, they're finding the boundary every now and again. In the last few overs, they've managed to take The previous over just went for the 1, but other than that, they've taken 5, they've taken 6, they've taken 4. They're managing to rotate the strike and build slowly.
How did they get off that last over? Sorry, and
it's 5 and 5 off the previous overs.
All in singles and
a couple of 2s and 6 singles. They scored off 8 consecutive balls. The last 4 of them.
See, that's what they didn't do in the T20. They just got stuck. So it was either 4 or nothing. Whereas this is allowing them to. One thing I'll say, today is a very good cricket wicket as well. There's a little bit of seam movement in the bowlers and the occasional odd bounce.
As Rashid in again, lots of flight given and swept by Pereira into the deep leg side area for a single.
There's enough in it for the batters to trust their shots and play through the line. So it just feels like there's a bit in it. We'll see the odd ball seam or grip or do something, but actually the batters, once you get set, you can think about batting long.
Yes. Been a little bit more correct with their play as well today, Englanders. Again, Rashid once more in and pushed off the back foot, just wide of the fielder at point, and they run through for another single. Yeah, I mean, me and Simon Mann were talking about this a little bit earlier. In the previous game, we can't think of any other games where there have been quite that many swings and misses. Not plays and misses, but swings and misses in a T20 game. As I've just spotted a chap as Rashid in again, and he slaps that through backward point for another single. Just seen a gentleman walk past with a rather fetching looking set of chips.
Do they have cheese on them?
No, they had some ketchup on it. They look good.
Ketchup. I think it's all about, you've got to progress from standard to triple cooked chips.
Triple cooked chips?
Yeah.
I want to hear more about that as Rashid in once more. This time the ball's been driven aerially, but straight past Rashid. The diving stop at mid-off, but they do run through for a single. A little moment of alarm, a little dip in the heart rate there for the game. Tell me about triple fried chips.
Well, I mean, I've never cooked them myself, but when you go out, it's on a menu. You have standard fries or triple cooked with some cheese on. You kind of know where to get down.
Rashid then once more played into the leg side comfortably by Pereira for another single. He moves on to 63.
Is there not a danger that there's now too many different formats of chips? Do we really need more?
I don't think you can ever have too many formats of chips.
You cannot have too many formats. Are you a skinny fries or thick fries, Andy?
Wait, hold on. I reckon you're a curly fries man.
I prefer the traditional long-form chips.
There's always room for a wedge or two, huh? In comes Adil Rashid again, back of a length and pulled hard this time by Hasaranga, but there is protection at mid-wicket. It'll be a single. Hasaranga on to 31 now, quietly working away. I know some people have talked down Hasaranga's skills with the bat, but he's been pretty effective here, and he's got a high score of 80 to his name as well, so he can bat as Sri Lanka 115 for 3 after 24 overs, and Adil Rashid has gone for 32 from his 5 so far. Not as potent as we've come to almost expect of him.
Yeah, well, I was going to say first of all about Hasaranga and your point. I just think this is such a window for him. If you're a player who's considered a spinner with a bit of batting, your middle order, this shows if he goes on and gets a half century or more, I would then be knocking on, especially in a team that's struggling, I'll be knocking on the captain's door saying, right, get me up that order, look, I can play that mature innings plus some flourish. So for him, that's brilliant. I think from Rashid bowling today, he's bowled nicely. I wouldn't say there's a huge amount of turn in it for him. Hasn't threatened too much.
Yes, indeed. Sam Curran back in again. This time the ball's been whipped nicely into the leg side by Hasaranga. Takes a single. Chris Wokes does the fielding. The score moves on to 116 for 3. He's just a young man, Vinendu Hasaranga, 23 years old. It's his birthday in just over a month, and he'll turn 24. And very quickly, he's developed into like a very handy cricketer. He came through the system for Sri Lanka as well. Played under 19s, under 23s, and had a very impressive outing in this year's Lanka Premier League. As Curran in once more, this time a full ball has been driven to the mid-wicket region for a single by Pereira. He's moving nicely as well, 64 off 63 for him, 117 for 3. And, you were talking about this earlier, Abdul. You talked about the need for that infrastructure, or the benefits of such an infrastructure, and he's like a walking, talking advertisement for that system in Sri Lanka and persevering with it. It feels like the issues happen when they get promoted to the senior team, and I suppose it brings with it more complicated factors, as Sam Curran in once more, back of a length, and driven beautifully by Hasaranga through the covers. That will race away for 4. For my money, that is the best shot of the day. What a gorgeous strike. Moved into the ball and drove it all the way along this beautiful surface here at Chester Street. 4 runs to Hasaranga, Sri Lanka, 121 for 3.
I'm with you. That is up there as one of the best because it wasn't quite there. It wasn't a full driving ball. He had to play it on the up and then get it perfected through that sort of right hand of Owen Morgan at extra cover. Really nice.
It's a beautiful shot now. Hasaranga starting to find some confidence and timing as Sam Curran comes in and bowls. This time on a leg stump line. It's been flicked into the leg side by Hasaranga for a single. Boundaries and rotating the strike. Maybe some quiet words of encouragement amongst Sri Lankan fans here at Chester Street. Andy?
Just on Hasaranga's batting, as we mentioned, he'd never batted above 7 in international cricket in any format before, but he has had some really good form in ODI cricket and shown that he can hit this year. He's had 47 off 31 and 80 not out off 60 against West Indies and then 74 off 60 against Bangladesh. 12 sixes in those 3 innings combined, so he can expand as well.
Curran in now, back of a length, and this time just defended to point by Pereira. The ball just rised on him a little bit.
Sorry, Andy, so those are all 7-ish?
Those are all batting at 8 in
8.
ODIs earlier this year. Yeah.
Okay. So more time at the crease, again, could just prove valuable. I always think of it from a perspective of how I used to think I was always trying to get in the team or trying to... So you know there's moments that if you can perform at a key moment, your captain's going to look and think, right, you're in the side again.
Curran in now and worked off the pads by Pereira into the leg side for a single.
It's an influence game because, you know, sometimes to get in a side, you might be batting at number 8, you might be batting at number 7, but you might have more potential than that, and so you have to find a way, if there's an injury or something like that, to put your hand up. But there's one thing putting your hand up and it's not scoring any runs. Yes. But if you put your hand up, you get up the order and you score runs. It's game on.
Absolutely.
Come on, Skip.
Well, it's career on. It's still, as we say, a very, very young man. Hasaranga, famously took a hat-trick as well when against Zimbabwe. So he's had these little moments, and, cricket in England is very, very special for many reasons, but it's just the exposure of it. I know in the subcontinent it means a lot to the players over there to come over to England. There's a glamour attached to it. There's a prestige attached to it. So when you score runs in England, those are the innings that are really, really memorable in one-day international cricket and T20 and Test cricket, of course, as well. But I think they'll be acutely aware of that, but particularly Hasaranga. He'll be acutely aware of how many people he's impressing on this platform. Adil Rashid in once more, and this time drifts onto the pads of Pereira, who works it to the square leg for a single. 124 for 3. Yes, as you say, I mean, obviously it's a tremendous tragedy for Sri Lankan cricket that, Dikwela isn't present and Gunathalika isn't present, but, it's provided this opportunity. There's a dog on the field.
It's a very cute thing.
It is a very cute thing, but it's just, I think it's been moved off the field now. Couldn't tell you what breed it was. Full ball and smashed down the ground by Hasaranga. He got a hold of that one, and it's just going to go 1, 2, 3 bounces into the boundary sponge. 4 runs to Hasaranga, opening his shoulders, feeling that confidence against Adil Rashid. 128 for 3 after 25.2.
Well, he's been pretty smart quite a few times because he knows that the mid-off fielder has been up. Adil Rashid, despite him chipping one over the over before, has left it up. So he knows if he gets the timing right, not a huge amount of turn, there's value on board.
Adil Rashid, a little bit expensive today as the slip is still in place for him. He comes and bowls a short one, which has just been hit cross back to him, and that's a dot ball. 37 runs off his 5.3 overs so far. And I wonder when the last time he went for more than 6 and over in a one-day international was. Perhaps Mr. Zoltzman can tell us. As in comes Adil Rashid. Lots of flight given and driven hard through the covers by Hasaranga all the way along the ground. And it's another boundary for him. He's closing in on that 50 mark. On to 45 now, Hasaranga. Sri Lanka 132 for 3.
And that was a full-up ball. But you could see he's looking for creating the angle there. He just slightly opened up. Just gave himself a fraction of room. And then picked the gap nicely.
Got to the pitch very quickly, didn't he? He's not too worried about the ball turning away from him as well. Hasaranga is very settled into his work as Rashid in once again. This time a little bit flatter, but smashed high and aerial over mid-off this time. And again, it'll be another boundary. 3 boundaries off this over so far. Hasaranga on to 49. Sri Lanka looking better and better, 136 for 3.
Ding ding, he's on fire at the moment, and I think he's sensing that there's not a huge amount of turn. You can trust the bounce, and so therefore actually there's shots on offer. He's still just thinking about that offside. He's just pumped 3 through it. It's still mid off up, and you know if you can either thread it up and over in that region, you've got some runs.
Rashid in now once again, and this time strikes the batsman on the pad. There's an appeal for LBW, and it's a stifled appeal. It's more of a comeback delivery type appeal anyway. Having a little chat with Owen Morgan. I'd be very surprised if they reviewed that, but they're having a little conversation in the middle, and nothing's going to happen. So that is the end of the 26th over. Sri Lanka 136 for 3, rallying here a little bit, and I think that predicted score we were talking about might improve a little bit. Ebony Rainford, Brent, tell me what you think the score is going to be. In a minute, you're going to be joined by Simon Mann.
Yeah, well, a few things. I just want to say that last delivery was quite smart by Rashid. He'd been pumped 3 times up and over or through extra cover region. And that time it was the googly, which was more into the pads, wouldn't let him create that space. Run rate's just ticked up above 5 and over, I think. Where are we? It's
5.2 per over.
So you just feel, Simon, this partnership, I don't want to jinx it, but if it builds a little bit more, you know, we talk 250, but actually that 270, 280, and then it starts to become a tasty game.
Headingley all over again.
It's all happening.
In that World Cup match, last time these two teams met, Sri Lanka got a score on the board and of course squeezed England hard and won the game. 136 for 3. Chris Wokes is coming back into the attack. You probably heard that in our effects microphone. Wokes' figures so far are impressive. Taking 2 wickets, 2 for 6 from 5 overs. Goes in now to bowl to Pereira, who's 66 not out. Wokes is with him, and Pereira pushes that into the offside towards cover, and there's no run. The other interesting thing about that last over, talk about England being aggressive in one-day cricket, trying to take wickets in the middle of the innings, is that even though Hasaranga was pumping Rashid over long off and extra cover, he kept long off up and also had a slip in. Just tempting him, going for the big drive and nicking to slip. And looking for the wicket. Here is Stokes bowling off the hip of Pereira there, possibly off the thigh pad. Goes down fine on the onside behind square, and indeed leg bye is signalled by umpire Goff. 137 for 3 in the 27th over. And these two moving towards a century partnership. Hasaranga poised to record another, not that many in his career, but an international half century. 49 not out, Pereira on 66, Hasaranga on strike, and Wokes goes into bowl to him, and forward goes Hasaranga, and there it is. There's the single through the offside to the left of cover, and a little punch to the air from Hasaranga as he played the shot, just after he played it. He raises his back to the dressing room, and warm applause around this Riverside ground for Hasaranga's half century. I can see it looks to be a lone Sri Lanka flag in the distance there being waved. I can't see many others around the ground today, but there is a little bit of support for Sri Lanka. And he's done really well, Hasaranga. 50 of 58 balls, 138 for 3. Now Pereira on strike. Wokes goes into bowl to him, and he gets into a tangle there and inside edge onto his pad, and then lobs the ball back to Wokes, presumably after asking for the bowler's permission. Chris Wokes is not the sort of cricketer to appeal for handle the ball, or not handle the ball. What would be under obstructing the field now? There's no such thing as handle the ball anymore. Jimmy Anderson's back alongside me. 138 for 3 in the 27th over. Wokes goes into bowl to Pereira. Pereira dabs this away down towards backward point. There is no run. 138 for 3. There was a bit of bad blood between these two sides when Senanayake ran out Josh Butler backing up. I remember the one-day international at Edgbaston. But you don't see teams appeal for that. Here's Wokes moving in to complete the over. Bowls to Pereira, who smacks him, but straight to cover. It's a lovely shot. He hit that straight at Moeen Ali, who's fielding in the covers. It would have been 4 either side of him. Hit it really hard. And there is no run. So Wokes has come back with conceding just a single in that over. He's bowled 6 overs and taken 2 for 7. And it's 138 for 3 after 27 overs, Jimmy.
Yeah, impressive from Chris Wokes. Gone for the most economical figures ever in one-day cricket. But yeah, he's bowled nicely, I think. And credit to Hasaranga, actually. He played really well for his 50. He's attacked Adil Rashid sensibly. He's done it in a way where he's hit the shots that, it's not major risks that he's taking. He's gone aerial a couple of times, but with mid-off in the ring. So it's a sensible sort of risk. But yeah, who'd have thought after his 3 knocks in the T20s that he'd come out and show this sort of form?
Yeah, he really struggled in that T20 series. He's done well for his side. 138 for 3, and here is Willie back into the attack. Goes into bowl to Hasaranga, plays it uppishly through the cover region. Found the gap, fortunately for him, rather than hitting it at cover. And he gets a single towards the man sweeping out on the cover boundary. 139 for 3. Hasaranga to 51.
His half century came from 58 balls with a 6 and 6-4. Scored just 10 from his first 30 and 40 from the next 28 to reach his 3rd ODI half century. All of them in his last 5 innings in this format since March of this year.
You've probably done this already, Andy, but I haven't heard it, and so therefore other people listening might not have heard it as well. The most economical bowling figures by an England bowler in one-day cricket. Here is Willie. Bowls short, Pereira pulls, slaps it really on the pull away into the onside. Doesn't really time it, hits it hard into the surface. Goes out to Livingston on the deep forward square leg boundary. One more run, 140 for 3 in the 28th over. And Pereira to 67. The fact that your fingers are working furiously on your computer suggests that you haven't done this stat.
How many overs minimum?
Well, I think a full 10 overs. I think a full 10, yeah. It's a bit harsh on someone who's... Here's Willie going into bowl and fiddled away into the offside with an open face down towards backward point. No run, roots away to his left-hand side. If you take, 5 for 20 off 9.5 overs and decide to bowled out, that seems a bit harsh to discount you, but I don't know whether that's ever happened. I mean, there have been some... I think wasn't Wokes involved in some very economical bowling figures for England, and Mark Elam as well. 140 for 3. Even Paul Collingwood. Here is Willie to Hasaranga, who's up on his toes, guiding this down towards 3rd, and it's Wood who comes in beneath our commentary box and hurls the ball into the ground on the way back to Bairstow. 141 for 3. Hasaranga to 52. And the partnership now is 5 shy of 100. When Shanaka was caught behind off Wokes for 1, Hasaranga out for 0, and Nissanka for 5. We feared a repeat, really, of what happened the other day at the Ageas Bowl. And Sri Lanka barely made a fist of Chase England's target of 180. Willie bowls, and Pereira turns this down towards fine leg. Wood gives it the long barrier, it bounces off his body. Again, he sends in the return on the bounce to Bairstow. 1 more to the total, 142 for 3. Pereira to 68.
The most economical 10 or more overs innings by an England bowler in one-day international cricket, you've got to go right back to the 1970s. Chris Old, 4 for 8 from 10 overs against Canada.
75 World Cup?
79
World Cup. Willie bowls to Hasaranga, turns that away backward a square, and they are through for a single. I see Canada are top of the second group, I think it is, in this the second or third group of World Cup qualifying. Anyway, they've made a reasonable start, but lots of matches to be played yet. Jimmy just shrugging. No idea
that wasn't technically the full stint, because that would have been a 60 over game, I think. 79 World Cup. Oldos had 2 for 12 in 11 overs against West Indies in an ODI in 1980. John Snow 4 for 11 from 12 against East Africa in the first World Cup.
That was 75, yeah.
But the most economical since 1994 for England, of anyone who's bowled the full 10, Jimmy Anderson, 1 for 12 from 10 against Australia, Adelaide, January 2003.
I think you knew that, Jimmy, didn't you? You knew that.
Why did you bring that up, Jimmy?
You teed that one up.
Never.
Wokes to Hasaranga. Hasaranga up on his toes, guiding that away out towards deep cover. Through for a single. 144 for 3. So 1 for 12 off 10 overs. What happened there then? I don't mean, I'm not saying you're not capable of doing that, but and those are quite unusual figures, especially against us. Was it against Australia?
It was against Australia. It was 10 on the bounce actually as well at Adelaide. 50-degree heat, I think, as well.
Inevitably. Wasn't it 55, I think?
Could have been, yeah.
Here is Wokes bowling to Pereira. Turns out forward a square for 1. A look at 2 because it's in that sort of in-between area just outside the circle, but Willie rushes in and prevents the second. So 145 for 3, 29th.
I do remember it well. We racked up a monster 150, I think. And then, me and Andy Caddick, I think Andy Caddick bowled 10 straight through as well at the other end. I spent the next 30 overs on the physio bed, about to pass out.
Who won the game?
Australia.
145 for 3. Hasaranga on 54. Wokes bowls to him. Straight delivery. Hasaranga gets the bat down in time to backward point, and there's no run. I can remember a one-day international team, England and Australia. We played in this one at the Adelaide Oval, where Australia won before the lights came on Australia Day once.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some quite one-sided one-day games back then against Australia.
Wokes moves in to bowl. Short, Hasaranga hits this high in the air. Could be caught, a deep square leg. Livingston, good catch. 2 hands falling forward. Wokes gets another wicket. Taking his third and his second with a short ball. It was hit high in the air by Hasaranga out towards Livingston, and he judged it really nicely. Not everyone would have caught that. But Livingston snaffled it and made it look quite straightforward in the end. Miscue, Hasaranga. So no 100 partnership, and Hasaranga on his way. 145 for 4.
Yeah, shame for Sri Lanka that they were going along really well there. Built a brilliant partnership. And it's the first time we've seen him properly tested with a short ball. And we saw it in the T20s where a lot of the Sri Lankan batsmen hit up, their hands going from low to high, so the ball goes up in the air towards that deep square leg region, rather than trying to go high to low and roll the wrists on it just to try and control it a little bit more. So that one's gone straight up, and a really good catch from Livingston. Had to cover a lot of ground to come in. Never easy when you're running in towards or when the ball's dropping short of you to try and judge it, but he judged it really well and took it safely in the end.
Yeah, it was one of those you never thought he'd drop. I don't know, his body language just suggested total confidence in getting there. He caught one similar to that in the T20 series as well.
Yeah, he did. He's a really good outfielder. He's got a good pair of hands. He just fielded slip as well, but he covers the ground reasonably quickly, and he seems to judge those catches very well, because they can be difficult when you're moving at speed to keep your eye on the ball and judge the distance of it. It can be tricky.
Now, Dhananjaya Lakshan has come in at number 6. He was down to come in at number 7, but they bumped him up 1. Ramesh Mendis dropping down. Lakshan is on his debut. He's an all-rounder, left-hander, and right fast medium bowler. So we've got 2 left-handers out there now. And it's Lakshan, number 77. He's got a slip in Owen Morgan for Wokes going in to bowl to him, and he's underway straight away, flicking that down towards fine leg. And there were arms in the air, because I think that probably a straight ball from Wokes probably might just have pitched on and straightened a bit, and he got the bat down in time. Got 1 more run to the total. 146 for 4 Sri Lanka in the 29th over on a sunny early afternoon at the Emirates Riverside, with a crowd around 7,000 in, enjoying themselves. Plenty of sun hats out there and sunglasses today. You need it as well. Sun strong at this time of the year. This is Wokes into bowl to Pereira. Pereira gets a thick inside edge on that. They're off for a quick single towards fine leg. Shut the stumps at the non-striker's end. Just misses from Rashid. Whether Pereira got home, I'm not sure. He didn't know where the ball had gone to start, so he was called through by his partner. So he was a bit late setting off. But Rashid's not got the strongest of arms, although he has improved his fielding of late, or over time, I say of late, in recent years. 147 for 4 at the end of the over. Pereira 70, keeps the bowling. And Wokes' figures are now...
They've been hammered. Now 3 for 11 from 7 overs and 4 maidens. So he's not going to displace Jimmy Anderson from the top of the most economical 10-over spells by England bowlers since 1994. Do you want to go through the most expensive innings, Jimmy, as well?
Not today.
All right, okay. just seems there's quite a few innings you could talk us through there.
Are you at the top of that list as well?
Probably.
Well, I've gone for 8 overs minimum. Only second. Chris Jordan, top 0 for 79 from 8 at the Oval, 2007. It was a high-scoring classic, that game, to which he contributed nobly with the ball.
Didn't Steve Harmison go for...
Harmison had 0 for 97 from 10. That's the most expensive 10-over analysis.
I thought so.
Bowler.
That was on a... Well, that was against Sri Lanka. A remarkable day at Headingley, where Sri Lanka knocked off 330 in 37 overs. Jayasuriya did some damage that day. Here is Moeen Ali into the attack. Goes in and bowls to Pereira, who rocks back and forces him through the offside, out towards deep cover. They trot through for a single. And Pereira moves to 71 and 48 for 4. So Dalanjaya Lakshan takes his guard from umpire Robinson, and Root comes in at slip. It's Owen Morgan, you can hear shouting our effects microphone. He just wants Mark Wood to mid-wicket. And Livingston's out to deep backward square leg, quite square as well, or fine I should say. And Moeen bowls, and Lakshan plays defensively back up the pitch. It's picked up by Moeen Ali, and there's no run. I can see them, both of them in the crowd today. 148 for 4. Moeen bowls, and Lakshan defends into the offside. Picked up by Morgan in the covers, and there was no run. Root in at slip, caught the catch earlier. Here is Moeen tossing that one up. Lakshan, not to be tempted, leans forward and defends it away into the offside. Key here really, I suppose, for Lakshan to support Pereira, get in, and Pereira not to give it away. Suddenly 150 for 5, and a lot of that good work undone. Moeen bowls, and Lakshan plays that defensively back down the pitch, and there is no run. Quiet over from Moeen. Lakshan giving himself a bit of time to have a look. Moeen round the wicket, bowls, and then the sweep shot comes out, miscued. He's bobbling out towards Livingston, and Lakshan goes through for a single. That's the end of the over. 149 for 4 with 20 overs left for Sri Lanka to get up around that 250 mark, possibly beyond, if they can find a partnership here between these two, or one or two to come.
Yeah, I think that's quite clever captaincy as well from Owen Morgan, knowing that he needs to get through a few overs. Rashid's been fairly expensive. 2 left-handers now at the crease. He brings Moeen into the attack to try and rattle through a couple of quick overs, get that fifth bowling slot sort of done, and then he can then just go back to his seamers, and who've been the most effective weapon for him today.
Also, it's coming up to 20 past 1. There's still 20 overs to bowl, and teams are being deducted points in the World Cup Super League. Sri Lanka have already been deducted 2 points for a slow over 8, and of course Australia's slow over 8 cost them a place in the World Test Championship final, which must be really galling for them, really, when you saw what happened last week. New Zealand winning. Here is Wokes bowling, guided away by Lakshan down into the backward point region, and there is no run. So I mean, that's the clearest example, I think, in recent years of a side of a slow over it really causing a side a problem. I mean, it's something you, when you're out in the field, you're probably not that. I don't know whether you are that concerned about it or that aware of it.
Yeah, of course you are. You're constantly getting told by the umpires what the over 8 situation is.
Wokes bowls, and Lakshan again guides towards backward point, and there's no run shot at the stumps of the non-striker's end. Just to keep Pereira honest, he got back into his ground. There is no swim during the first test I commentated on at Lords. There are lots of overs left out there.
Yeah, but I think I'm just going to make excuses for the players now. But we do try and get through our overs quite quickly. But I think, things like the umpires not be able to take our caps.
Here's Wokes bowling, edge caught, very good catch by Root at slip away to his left-hand side, and Wokes has got his fourth, and it's 149 for 5. First real attacking shot that Lakshan has played, and he thick-edged it, and Root took an excellent catch away to his left-hand side, because that went very quickly. It was one of those in slow motion, you think, well, it was in the air, you got a good sight of it, but you saw it live. And it went quickly, and he almost caught it in his left hand, and he went for it two-handed, but his left hand was the dominant one, and Sri Lanka have lost 2 quick wickets to Chris Wokes.
Yeah, smart catch again by Joe Root, and Chris Wokes again, it's just been outstanding today. He's not missed his line and length much. He's been very accurate and asked lots of questions of the Sri Lankan batsman. And that one was I think he held it cross seam, so he's just trying to get a little bit of extra bounce off the wicket, or variable bounce, should we say, trying to push it across the left-hander, and it forced the edge.
It's not been a great day for the debutants so far. Sri Lanka out for 0, and Lakshan out for 2, although he'll get a chance with the ball later. Looks like the players are taking a drinks break out there, which makes sense in terms of trying to actually speed the over rate up when a wicket falls. Take a drinks break. I mean, there are mitigating circumstances, aren't there? Like, reviews take quite a long time to get through.
But it is, with excuses aside, we do try and get through the overs. We jog between overs. Yeah, so it's just trying to make sure that we're doing the right thing there.
Russell Arnold, drinks break. What have you made of it?
Hi. Hello.
Hello, Russell. Sorry, you might have missed my question. Just simply, what's your assessment of what's happened so far?
Well, pretty impressed with that partnership, really, but it's just changed a wee bit once again. Wanindu Hasaranga batting as high as he has, I think that's the first time he's done it. He came in under pressure with 3 wickets down, and he's played a wonderful supporting role to Kusal Pereira, who's still out there. So as long as he's out there, the Sri Lankans will believe that they can probably get another 100, 125 runs and give themselves some chance. Who knows? Strange things happen in cricket. So as I said before the game, it's not about the Sri Lankan win, it's about competing. The youngsters not really been able to come in, but I'm really impressed with what Kushal Pereira is showing out there.
Yeah, he's done really well so far. He's 71 not out. Now, Ramesh Mendis is in at number 7. Here's Wokes going in to bowl to him, and Mendis comes tiptoeing down the pitch. He's struck on the pads. A shout for LBW from those behind, not from Wokes, the bowler. What about what's to come? Mendis has just come in, and Karunaratne, Binura Fernando, Jismanta Chamira and Jai Wikrama. What is there in that lower order for Sri Lanka?
Well, they can all hang in there now. Karunaratne, Binura Fernando, they can hit a ball. They're very effective. But coming in at 30 overs and trying to score runs is something they haven't done before. And also, we can't forget the quality of this English bowling attack. That's why it was crucial that the other batsman did take it deep. Ramesh Mendis has a first-class 300. So he can hang around there. And the focus should be to help Kusal Pereira on his way. So hang in there and let Kusal see what he can do. That's the only way Sri Lanka can get forward.
Mendis playing that delivery away into the offside from Wokes. Wokes goes in again and bowls, and Mendis plays defensively back up the pitch, and there is no run. Thanks very much, Russell. Jimmy played against Ramesh Mendis in the second test match in Gaul, which he remembers very well. I'll let him talk you through that, and then Scott Reed is going to come in.
Yeah, Mendis looked a solid player. Obviously got a first-class triple 100, as Russell mentioned there. So you'll be hoping to hang around here. But Pereira, all Sri Lanka's hopes hang on Pereira here. 71 off 76. He needs to go on and get a decent-sized 100 if Sri Lanka are going to get a total anywhere close to being able to defend here, I think, against this England side.
Didn't you say to Simon before, did I play in that test match again? Can't quite remember. Moeen Ali in bowling. And Pereira turns it into the onside. There's no run.
I thought I blagged my way out of that quite well.
You blagged it superbly. Yeah, you did. We're all completely convinced about that. 149 for 5. Pereira 71. Moeen Ali around the wicket to him. Eased away nicely enough, bouncing away through extra cover for a single. Moves to 72. Brings up the 150 for Sri Lanka as well. 150 for 5. Mendes on strike and taking guard from umpire Robinson. Moeen just a couple of balls into his second over. A long on, got a wide long on. There's a deep point, deep mid-wicket. Moeen in bowling. A wristy shot, leans into it, steers it away through mid-on for a single. And he's off the mark with that. And 5-1 for 5. Can't believe that I came into this commentary stint. Simon broached the thorny subject of over rates with you. I was ducking for cover in the back of the commentary box as Moeen's in and bowling. That's sliced away through the offside by Pereira. Not towards that man on the cover boundary. Sam Billings, just a 1 for Pereira. Moves to 73, not out. 152 for 5. It's a murky old world, is the over rates. Try to stay clear of it.
Please do.
It's a thorny subject that's got me in bother before. Moeen in and bowling to Mendes. Asking the question as to whether that's a LBW. Oh, he's given it. Blimey, he took some time. He's reviewed it straight away. Umpire Tim Robinson took his time and then finger went up.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review for LBW. The original decision is out. It's a fair delivery. If we could move on to front on spin vision, please.
Instant review after a delayed reaction from the umpire. As we see this replay.
Okay, it doesn't look like there's any bat involved. Can we confirm that with Ultra Edge when available, please?
Hearing the voice of Richard Kettlebrook, the third umpire. Well, it doesn't look like there's any bat on that. Let's see what
Ultra Edge coming up now, please. Flat lines, it goes past the bat, clear gap, keep it running through to the pad, please. Okay, no bat involved, we'll go to ball tracking when available, thank you.
You reckon there, Jimmy?
Looks like the only way it could be not out is if it's going down leg. It's
impact in line.
Pitching outside off, impact in line. Wickets is umpire's call. Can you go back to Tim on field? Tim, you can stay with your original decision. You're on camera now.
And it's a walk back towards the dressing rooms. It was an instant review, wasn't it? As if perhaps he thought he'd hit it. But...
yeah, I think he thought it might have been going down leg. And I think also the fact the umpire took his time to give the decision maybe put some doubt in the batsman's mind that there was doubt in the umpire's head. But I think I like seeing that from umpires, taking just that split second longer just to properly think it through. And in the end, he made the right decision, I think.
Yeah. So 152 for 6. And after a really steady, calm partnership between Pereira, who's still there, and Hasaranga, who's gone, there's been a little flurry of wickets. And that base that Sri Lanka had, perhaps with the ambitions of going on to, and could still get a really good score here, a couple of quick setbacks.
Yeah, they just need someone to stay with Pereira. I think he's clearly the guy who can get Sri Lanka up to a decent score here. So he just needs that support at the other end. You know, it doesn't need anything fancy. It just needs someone to hang in there, rotate the strike if they get the opportunity. They don't have to take any risks. Just try and get Pereira on strike as much as possible.
Karen Naratner is the new batter to join Pereira. He's playing a blinding innings for his side here. And on striker's end, but he's watched a few batsmen disappear, come and go. Moeen with his first wicket, and Moeen will continue at 152 for 6. What are we into? One ball left of the 32nd over, slip in place. Root there at slip. So Kaneratne gets forward and safely negotiates his final ball of the first of that Moeen Ali over. Pushed away into the offside, and there is no run. So Pereira 73, much now if depends on what he can do. How big a score can he go on to get? Sri Lankan captain.
He's also he's sort of in a tricky position as well. When does he push start going through the gears to try and get Sri Lanka up to a decent score? He doesn't want to leave it too late and run out of partners. So how much does he trust the batsman that he's playing with? There's going to be a point where he's going to have to just push on a little bit.
But it's only 32 overs gone. At what stage do you do that?
Well, that's just it. I think obviously there's still a few wickets left yet, but you don't want to leave it too late and then end up being 90 not out, and actually could have gone a bit harder a bit earlier. So I think he's just going to have to trust his judgment.
David Willey comes back into the attack from the Finkel end, left arm over the wicket balls. Pereira off the back foot, just pushing away into the offside, bouncing up towards Moeen Ali at extra cover, and there is no run. Well, Andy went through his stats before. He's an experienced man, so he's in a great position to judge it. What have you got, Andy?
It's on a bit on Chris Woakes' outstanding performance today. 2 spells, 2 for 6 from 5 overs, then 2 for 5 from 3 overs, 4 for 11 from 8 overall. It's his 13th 4-wicket haul in one day, which is sort of the one-day equivalent of a fifer.
There's Willey. He's in the balls to Pereira. That's swatted away through the onside. There's a man out at deep back with square leg, and he's gone. Great pair of hands on that deep back with square leg boundary. Caught out in the deep by Sam Billings. Pereira for 73, the 7th wicket to fall. 152 for 7.
Yeah, and you think there goes Sri Lanka's hopes of getting a defendable score today. 152 for 7, and Pereira, the captain and their most experienced player, gone. Again, he's played the pull shot and he's looked to go up with it rather than trying to go along the ground. He's gone up with 2 men out on the boundary waiting for that exact shot. He's picked one out. So it's a pretty poor dismissal considering the situation Sri Lanka are in.
Is it a dismissal where he's thinking, do I try and go now, or is he going to cut potentially in 2 minds?
Yeah, well, I think I think he likes that shot. He likes the pull shot, but I just think in this situation he could have played it slightly differently and gone along the ground. He's got 2 men out. He's a deep mid wicket and a deep square leg.
Yeah.
And the way he's played it, he's tried to hit it for 6. He's not connected with it perfectly, so it brought in the deep square leg fielder and he took an easy catch.
Yeah, Sam Billings sweeping around probably 4 or 5 yards to his right, started behind square and actually taking it just in front of square. Didn't have too much room to manoeuvre with. A yard or 2 in from the boundary form, but a good catch from Billings, knowing that it was Pereira as well hauling out. Willey strikes 7 down now, 152 for 7, and it only seems half an hour ago really that Sri Lanka with Pereira and Hasaranga batting nicely, all looked well in the world. Sun was shining, pitch was good, runs on the board, partnership edging towards 3 figures.
They've lost 4 wickets for 7 runs in the last 22 balls.
There's David Willey. Well, actually, batters did cross, so Kaneratne is back on strike. Fernando, the new batsman, that's pulling away there. Willey will go back to his mark. It's 2 balls into the 33rd over. A run of wickets lost for not many runs added. Sri Lanka in bother. Willey bowls, nudged away into the onside, but at hesitation. Oh, this could be tight. Moeen Ali wasn't able to pick up the ball cleanly. Pick up in a direct throw. I think we'd have seen the batsman struggling, but got through for a single. A little frantic nonetheless, but Kaneratne's off strike with that. And off the mark as well. Just didn't quite pick it up cleanly. Ebony's alongside.
Hello, yeah, no, he didn't quite get down low enough. He went for the pick up and flick, but ended up just touching it with his fingernails. If he would have got that, though, I feel that would have been another devastating wicket for Sri Lanka.
I've got a slightly controversial view for you. It's a bit of an old school view. As Willie comes in and balls to Fernando down the leg side, and short, just on leg stump. He ducks underneath it and through to the keeper, and there's no run. Does Sri Lanka just try and bat out 50 overs if they can?
I understand your thinking in terms of just hang around. The problem, I think, is, just digging in and scoring nothing actually also achieves very little.
Okay.
And there's a certain amount of mindset you need.
Fernando waits, Willie balls, flush ball and off stump. He pushes forward in defence, there's no run.
But I'd also take your point, like, not batting out your 50 overs is, it feels like, it's bad. And you almost want to say, can you hang around? For me, though, it's not so much about just digging in. I think it's more about how you go about it. So you're pushing ones, twos, rotating the strike, just, even if you're ticking at 4 and over, but not taking risks. And then you can try and expand later on.
Left arm over, it's back of a length delivery, but Fernando up onto his toes, pushes away into the offside. And there's no run, picked up by Willie off his own bowling. It's the end of the over, 33 gone, 153 for 7.
So what are you saying? If you're coach right now, are you saying dig in?
Well, not dig in, just... And I agree with you, you've got to keep ticking it over, haven't you? But you don't want to get rattled out inside 40 overs with 170 on the board, do you? That's not what you want, is it?
No, it's not what you want. It's just you need a bit of and unfortunately it's now the tail end that we're having to answer these questions. It would have helped if Pereira was alongside, a lower order batter kind of marshalling, and then you can say, right, I'll take the strike, you just knock it for one and get me back on strike. When it's two lower order batters, it does become a bit more survival, right? And it's harder to play the shots. So the problem for them is that England have so many bowling options available. So if it's not one that gets you, it might be chuck it to Mark Wood and he gets you.
Yeah.
Well, talking about that.
That's exactly what they've done, yeah. Moe now is being replaced. Little burst of Mark Wood from the Lumley end to start his 5th over. Home supporters enjoy the sight of Mark Wood back into the attack. He's run up from beyond the 30-metre circle. He's starting somewhere near Sunderland as he comes steaming in. Slip in place. Eased away just behind square on the offside by Karunaratne for a single. Doubles his total, moves up to 2.
He's set the field for short bowling or into the pitch bowling, but I wouldn't mind just seeing him throw a few full and straight, just with his pace. The likes of Fernando and Karunaratne. I just wonder if 90 miles an hour right in the block hole.
Yeah, rooted slip, deep point, a deep backward square leg, fine leg as well. Went over the wicket bowling, drop and go into the offside, pick up and throw towards the keeper's end. Owen Morgan, sharp piece of work in the field. Again, that could have been tight, but at least some intent being shown by these two batsmen.
Good intent, but that was tight. I have to give credit here to Owen Morgan, who's had to go to his left. Obviously, being a right-handed thrower, had to turn all the way around and still got the ball out very quickly to make that a dangerous run in the end. Good fielding. England are just on fire.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? The body language is good, the energy seems good. Helps with the score, 155 for 7, of course. Wood back in, but down the leg side, taken just a yard to his left, Bairstow. Well, Bairstow's asked the question as to whether that's just flicked perhaps off the glove, maybe? No, it's been signalled as a wide. So the umpire just wait to see whether England were thinking about reviewing it. We heard clearly Owen Morgan say, I didn't hear anything. The England captain.
Sorry to distract you, but there is a guy walking with 3 massive bags of chips right in front of us. Massive. They're humongous bags. It's just settled in front of us.
There's Wood. And again, just defence into the onside, and there is no run. Blimey,
orange shirt, and he is just loading up all his mates with...
Yeah.
You know that old school, if you go to your fish and chips, you get it in the paper, and it's like massive. Not just a small little bag of fries. I mean just those humongous bags. He's got 3 of those.
Oh, well, he's certainly getting the carbs in then, clearly.
No salad.
No. There's every chance there might be a bit of kind of melted cheese on there as well. That's a bit of a local delicacy.
Don't.
Cheesy chips.
Oh, don't.
You could eat some cheesy chips now.
Anytime.
157 for 6. With balls again. Playing a miss and good bounce and carry through to Bairstow. No run.
That is some good encouragement for the seam bowlers. Not only is it quick, we've seen throughout the game there's just one or two that nip off the surface. That was 91 miles an hour and flew past the outside edge. Just enough. He's seam position.
He's beaten the bat throughout the course of the day so far, Mark Wood. Wicketless so far, but within a millimetre or two at times of finding the outside edge. Bowling into the 90s. He's tearing back in again, into the toes and defended into the onside. Wood will feel off his own bowling, no run. 1-5-6 for 7. Well, it's that time of the day, isn't it, where I suppose people are thinking about lunch, aren't they? We've had a couple of cold drinks to start the day off, and we better soak it up a little bit with some enormous bag of chips.
Capacity is good today. I don't know what the allowance was, but it looks up there. 80% are we, maybe?
I think it's 7,000 in. So
50%.
That's 50% of the capacity. But it's helped with a good atmosphere. Runs pushed away through the offside. Think of a second. Oh, horrible mix-up throw comes in towards the keeper's end. Too high for Bairstow. Get back. Oh, actually the direct hit. But look at it. Well, goodness me, it's up carnage. I mean, it wasn't massively brilliant cricket all round, but it could end up in a wicket.
Oh, Chris Wokes was wiped out as well.
See
it's
your
all
best
happening.
side on angle, please.
Well, it was Karunaratne going back to the non-strikers, and he was so far down the pitch. He was sent back. Pick up and throw. Could be a direct hit. Well, it is a direct hit. Blimey,
Okay, I'm just take that back, please. Do you have an angle from the other side?
We'll be
please?
close. Is the bat over the line? Just, I think. Yeah, just. Well, I mean, it wasn't massively brilliant cricket all
Just keep that
round.
rolling through, please. Keep it rolling
I
through.
think he's going to be okay here. Yeah, he
Okay,
is.
bat is grounded behind the line. I'm ready with my decision for the big screen.
Within a millimetre or two, though, wasn't it?
Well, that was all happening. First of all, picked up out in the deep. That was a bad throw into Bairstow. It was like 2 metres above his head. He's jumped up. Obviously, the mix up with the batters. But then well backed up and a good throw. And then the non-striker nearly wiped out Chris Wokes. So a lot going on.
Have a breather, Ebbs. A few more thoughts and then Atif's coming in.
Yeah, just having a look. I think it was Liam Livingston who did the throw out in the deep. Yeah, it was above Johnny Bairstow's head, but he actually got his glove to it and then palmed it. So actually, if he would have taken that ball cleanly, Johnny Bairstow, when it first came in, he would have had a better opportunity of taking him out.
So Karunaratne's run about 3.5 runs there. Fernando's run 1. I don't know if that averages out as 2 for the team or not.
Yeah.
I tell you what, that was the running of a man distracted by chips.
Also, Chris Wokes got a little bit of a barge as well.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that delivery, wasn't there? Well, David Willey back in now this time, and there's been a bounce from him as it gets a little bit of glove, a little bit of bat, a bit of everything on that ball as the ball's played down by Karunaratne into the ground for no run. 157 for 7. Sri Lanka staring down the barrel here of a low total. We thought they might get one, and then there was that partnership, that really encouraging partnership between Captain Kusal Perera and Vanindu Hasaranga. But since then, there's been a bit of a procession for the Sri Lankans. 1.4 wickets fell for 7 runs. Willie in now, once again, back of a length, this time pushed just wide of the fielder at point. They think about the single, another bit of poor running there, a direct hit, and he would have been gone at the non-striker's end. Well, these Sri Lankan cricketers, they need to get their calling sorted here, because all sorts, and they're both kind of talking to each other, Fernando and Karunaratne, both sort of playing the blame game right now. They don't know who's called it incorrectly. Was there a run there, Ebbs?
No, it wasn't. He's absolutely dabbed that straight into backward point hand. And actually, if Billings would have picked it up cleaner, there would have been more chance at that run out. He'd have had a moment to set himself for the throw.
David Willey back in now. Good length delivery, this time defended into the ground by Karunaratne for no run.
I love that when I'm sure you've been there. Whatever stage of cricket you've played is you're blaming the person at the other end. You're not calling. Exclusively your fault, but you're nailing them. They're nailing you.
Absolutely.
Stitched. He got absolutely stitched there. Fernando dabbed it, said yes, and then no.
Yeah, it's all happening here at Chester Street. Mickey Arthur was beside himself as another good ball from David Willey, just cramping the batsman for room, and a very loud call of no this time from Karunaratne as Mickey Arthur's got an expression on his face.
He was strong in his interview after the final T20. He was... it's not often you see a coach lay into their team. He was strong.
I suggest both of these batsmen, when they go back, eventually just avoid eye contact for a while. I don't think he might have some choice words. Mickey Arthur is really in once again this time at better length, and it's just been defended to mid-off. And again, loud calls of no now from the batsman, getting that fundamental right.
But I think the problem here is what Karunaratne at the non-strikers end. So Fernando at the non-strikers at the moment is looking like he's ready to run that, like charge down every ball.
Yep.
Which just leaves that it's not calm and like, are we taking the single? Are we not? You got him looking just
a bit
desperate,
jittery.
Yeah.
In comes David Willey, back of a length this time, played into the leg side. They do run for this one, and they make it relatively comfortably. There is a shy at the non-strikers end of the batsman, comfortably home. So that's the end of the 35th over, 158 for 7. Karunaratne on 4 off 13. He'll keep the strike. Bernardo Fernando has got just the 1 off 4 so far. Both of these players are playing their second one-day international today, both currently on their highest scores of 3 and 1 respectively.
Well, there's time for more records, personal milestones.
Well, they're already there. There you go. They're already on their highest score. So there's a silver lining and there's a bronze lining.
The only way is up.
Yes, right now England very much on top here at Chester Street. Sri Lanka 158 for 7. And not letting up England. Mark Wood.
I was going to ask Andy a random question. Is there a way to find out, like, the lowest highest score people finish their careers on? Like, has anyone...
Wood in short and worked into the leg side by Karunaratne, who's moved on to his career high score of 5 now.
Sort of just finished their whole entire career not getting past, like, 2.
The lowest highest score.
Well, how many innings minimum? Because there have been players who've only played
20
one
20
game.
minimum.
20 minimum.
Yeah, 20 is a decent career, isn't it? That's a proper career.
It's a good sample size.
What format?
ODI cricket.
Okay.
You have time in ODI cricket. That's a story and a half.
That's a great.
If you've played 20 games,
I've got a good Chris Woke stat as well. I'll come to
yeah, sorry about that.
Wood in now. Length ball beats the outside edge as it goes through to the keeper, and I can see Sam Billings here at deep third. Just had his hands on his head. Just really thought that was quite close. You can hear the Barmy Army going in the background. They've been playing all the classics today. Bit of Sweet Caroline, Karma Chameleon. What else have they played? We're
going through the full...
Yeah, the full playlist.
The full playlist.
Well, it's good to see them enjoying themselves. 7,000 strong here at Durham today. 50% capacity allowed. And everybody's having a good old time. There's music, there's chips, and there's some good cricket. What more do you want from life? In comes Mark Wood. Short ball. This time just fended off into the leg side by Bernardo Fernando, who moves on to his career best score of 2. Sri Lanka 160 for 7.
You're beefing that up there.
Well, you've got to find a silver lining for the Sri Lanka fans. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed this, but Karunaratne, when he's on strike, and he's on strike now, so look out for this, he does that sort of bat twizzle that Alex
Stewart twizzle.
Yeah.
I tried that my whole career. Early days, because he was one of my idols, and I kept dropping it in the middle, and it was really embarrassing that he had to just give up and just tap. It's not happening.
Mark Wood. In he comes now, and bowls length outside the off stump, left alone by Karunaratne. As the ball goes through to the keeper, and there is no run. Yeah, he gives it a really aggressive bat twizzle. Does Karunaratne? He must get sort of 10 to 20 rotations in before he gets into his batting line. But it's usually the idiosyncrasy. Yeah, there you go.
I told you.
That's a tribute to Ebony Rainford Brent there from Karunaratne. He just dropped his bat in mid twizzle.
The twizzle is down to Alex Stewart, and the drop is down to those of us who didn't quite master that skill.
Mark Wood now with a slip in place. In he comes, shorter this time, worked into the leg side. Karunaratne wanted a single, but a loud call of no from Fernando means they stay put. It's been a good over this from Markwood very quick, 90 miles an hour again, just holding that pace in his 6th over now. He's gone for 16 so far from his 5.5. He's looking good for it. Is that La Cucaracha I can hear in the background? That's La Cucaracha.
Twist and shout, isn't it?
Yes,
I thought it was La Bamba.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, no, could be right.
Yeah, well,
I'm not sure.
I'll stick to cricket. Sorry. In comes Markwood. And that's a good length ball. It's been defended into the offside in conventional fashion that time by Karunaratne. And that is the end of a very good over from Markwood. 160 for 7 now, Sri Lanka, after 36 overs. 14 overs to go in this innings. I guess now the objective would be, Ebony, just to make sure they play out the overs.
Yeah, we were saying a little while ago, there's two sides. One, you want to get the game as deep as possible. But equally, I don't think it's about shutting up shop and just... I can understand why they were trying to take those quick singles. They were trying to keep some momentum. Got to be maybe less frantic. But I would like to see them tick at 4 and over, low-risk cricket. Just find a way to relieve the pressure. Single here, single there, single there. And then you start to get towards 45 overs, and then you can have a blast. So maybe even 42 overs, and you think maybe one of us could risk it if we're in. That's a long way away from where they are. Another 6 or 7 overs, and it's a long way when you've got a high-quality bowling team.
Without a doubt, Willie, and this time the ball's been scooped up in the air and taken in the leg side. Well, that's the end of Binaru Fernando's knock. Just looking to fend that ball into the leg side, scooped it up, and a relatively comfortable catch for Moeen Ali. The 8th wicket has fallen for Sri Lanka now. As Fernando looks to the sky as he goes back to the pavilion. Sri Lanka 160 for 8. That 200 looking further away, Nabs.
Yeah, it looked very uncomfortable there. It was a slightly shorter ball. I wouldn't say it was that short, but he just got into a very awkward position, both feet off the floor and trying to fend it off. Good catch by Moeen Ali. Other question is, did he pass his high score? Did he equal it but didn't pass it?
No, that's his high score.
That is his high
He'd
score.
never batted before.
Oh.
This is his second one day. He didn't bat in the first one.
Okay, fair play then.
I mean,
Give
high
him
score. It's
credit.
also his worst ever innings in this format, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Another wicket for Willie, 3 for 43 for him. Back to Chris Woakes, 4 for 11 from 8. It's the 13th time he's taken 4 wickets in an innings in one-day internationals. Now, 5 is a pretty rare in ODIs because you have it limited to 10 overs, so they're quite rare, but 4 was slightly less so. But that puts him in the top 10 all-time from any country for most forfers in ODIs, and he ties Jimmy Anderson on 13 forfers for England as England's most prolific forfer taker in ODI cricket. What's notable about Woakes is that he's done so in not many innings. This is his 101st innings that he's bowled in one-day international cricket. And if you look at his innings per forfer rate, so 1 forfer every 7.7 innings, of the bowlers, the 180 bowlers or so who've bowled in 75 or more one-day international innings, he has the 4th best rate of innings per forfer. So he takes them very frequently. Ahead of him, Shane Bond and Trent Boult, 2 fine New Zealand teamers, and leading the way, Mitchell Starc, who has 18 4-wicket innings in ODI cricket in just 96 innings, 1 every 5.3 innings. So Woakes is right up with the most effective forfer takers in ODI history.
He might get a chance for a 5 at some point, as in comes Sam Curran. That ball's been played into the leg side for no run.
So to you, Andy, is taking a 4 for, like in T20 cricket, a 30 is 50 is great, but is it to you like, you only have so much time, so if you get a 4 for that is high quality. If you get 30 in a T20, that's a measurable score.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it's all about context with him. There's different forfers and different 30s, I guess.
In comes Willie now. A bit of bounce from him this time, as the ball's just ducked under by Chamira. Through the keeper for no run. Chamira, of course, Dushmantha Chamira, new batsman, better known for his bowling exploits, had an excellent game on a personal level for him in Southampton. Bowled with a lot of pace and swing and control, and had an excellent bowling return as well. I don't think he anticipated, or maybe he did anticipate getting involved with the bat today, but he'll have a job to do to try and get Sri Lanka back in this game later, as Willie, with a beautiful delivery, just shaping away from Chamira, goes through to the keeper for no run. Excellent bowling this from England.
Yeah, Chamira's not looking comfortable. You just saw before the ball bowled there, he sort of stepped away and came back. That sort of nervousness when you're stood at the crease.
Hasn't quite settled into his work yet.
I think he might enjoy bowling, though, with a bit of lift that we've seen, particularly from the end we're at now.
There's David Willey in once more. This time the ball takes a thickish outside edge to deep third. And Chameera is off the mark. He's off and running. He's got one to his name, Sri Lanka, 161 for 8. Yeah, we were just talking, Ebs, weren't they? If they managed to go at 4 and over, that'd get them to 200 at sort of the 46, 47 over mark, giving them another 3 overs to try and get some bonus runs. But with 2 wickets in hand, that's tough going, and you kind of back this England bowling attack to get those 2 wickets.
Yeah, you really do, and they've also got a lot of bowlers available.
So many options for England. David Willey in once again, short this time and ducked underneath. That did Karunaratne, and just having a little chat about the height. No, everybody's happy. That is the end of the 37th over. Sri Lanka 161 for 8 after 37 overs. Now, I feel like I missed out on a little bit of chip chat there. Did I miss out on some chip chat?
I was just, all it was is there was a guy just down in front of us came with 3 humongous bags of...
For his friends?
He did end up giving them, he was a bit slow to hand them out, but yeah, he did. You know, the old school sort of big bit of paper that if you go to your local fish and chips, but they're gone. They're gone now. They don't exist.
They've been taken care of. They've been given a good home.
Yeah, they have.
Very good. I know Andy's kind of keen on a very specific old school kind of chip, but I just wanted to ask you your viewpoint on sweet potato fries. I just wanted to give them their day in court. That's all it was. In comes Mark Wood this time. The ball's been defended into the covers. They run through for a quick single, and an uncharacteristic misfield from Owen Morgan allows them to get there comfortably. 162 for 8 now. Not a fan of the sweet potato, Andy? He's got the shake of the head there.
No. Why mess with a winning formula?
Sweet potato fries with a bit of salmon is a good go-to. Also, it's important as well, the sauce, because I don't think it works with ketchup, sweet potato fries.
No, it doesn't.
But it works with mayo. I think standard chips can pretty much do any sauce.
Oh,
really.
yeah. Bit of salt and vinegar, classics. In comes Mark Wood now, short this time, and just fended into the ground by Karunaratne, 162 for 8. The score remains. Yeah, he's hadn't looked quite comfortable, Karunaratne, since he's been at the crease. He's been there for 19 deliveries now, so he's seen a bit of it. He'll be working out the right strategy. I guess it's difficult to know what to do in this circumstance as well. Do you go after it? Do you play every ball on its merit? Do you try and see off the overs?
Well, in terms of Mark Wood is bowling traditionally going to be slightly back of a length at the moment. That's how he's set his field. You almost could do with just getting inside and nudging. There's a big gap on the leg side.
As Mark Wood comes in now, short outside the off-stump, takes an outside edge, and it's been put down at first slip. Well, we talked about an uncharacteristic piece of fielding in the covers from Owen Morgan. We've seen an uncharacteristic drop at first slip by Joe Root. I don't think I've ever seen him put one down there.
And that was a really good catchable height. Obviously coming at pace, but he had time to see it because it actually ran off the face of the bat. I would say he caught it. If you look at the angle it came to him, he caught it, but then it was on the sort of going down, just sort of burst through the hands.
Fingertips onto the ground, wasn't it? Then comes Mark Wood once again, this time short ball. There was a bit of aggression behind that one. And Karunaratne, fending off is an understatement. He really just tried to survive that ball as he pushed it into the ground. 91 miles an hour that time from Mark Wood, 162 for 8.
And I was talking about his way of getting off strike ideally would be just sort of, there's a massive gap where there's singles on the leg side, but then that also means you have to get in line to play that shot.
Of course, yeah.
And that's the last thing you want to do when someone's charging in.
And bowling short and aggressive stuff, this.
Yeah. Uncomfortable.
I like that ball. There's a bit of Shoaib Akhtar about that ball. The meanness,
Bit of spite.
In comes Mark Wood again, bustling in. He bowls a fuller ball. This one's been driven uppishly, but just past the fielder at extra cover. And they should come back for 2. Sam Curran does the fielding. Yep, they make it back for 2 in the end. Attempt at that drive. I wouldn't say it was the cleanest shot, but he'll be grateful for the 2 runs. Karunaratne on to 7 now. Got into position quickly, but didn't really get the feet in the right area there. Not quite to the pitch of the ball. Just spiked it a little bit. 168 for 4. 164 for 8, I beg your pardon. Numbers all over the place. 37.5 overs gone. Sri Lanka struggling here, teetering on the brink of collapse. As Mark Wood in once more, short ball. And again, just testing the the air, tasting the air around the helmet of Chimera of Karunaratne as it goes through the keeper, and that is the end of Mark Wood's 7th over. His economical spell continues. 0 for 19 for him so far, 164 for 8 after 38 overs. A few more thoughts from you, Ebbs, and you'll be joined by Mr. Simon Mann.
That last ball was not only quick, it was a little bit nervy because he completely took his eye off the ball once he saw it was short. And then it got a little bit too close to the head. Luckily, he just dipped enough at the last moment, but that could have been one of those sort of helmet crunches. England all over Sri Lanka here at the moment, Simon.
Yeah, they really have subsided. I mean, take away that partnership of 99. 164 for 8. Here is Willie moving into bowl. There's a shout for LBW from behind. Chimera push forward. Nothing from the bowler. No run. 164 for 8. So what have they lost here? Sri Lanka 145 for 3 at one stage. It's been a familiar tale of their brief tour so far. Batting struggles. Chimera waits. Here goes Willie looking for his 4th wicket. And Chimera comes forward and plays that away to cover, and there's no run. There's still 11 and a half overs available to them. Only 2 wickets left. And Chris Wokes is poised on 4 for 11. Willie's been more expensive. Wokes are excellent today. Andy?
They lost 5 wickets for 15 in 7.5 overs.
Wow.
Yeah, Pereira was 73 and Hasaranga 54. The rest, single figures. Willie Bowles struck on the pad, shout for LBW. Umpire Goff says not out. It was one of those prolonged appeals from Willie, but not really convincing. And Bairstow saying, well, you're thinking of a review? What do you think? And they've gone for it, actually.
Copy.
Umpire Goff is normally very solid with his decision making.
Director, we have a player review for LBW. Original decision is not out. It's a fair delivery. We can move on to front on spin vision, please.
This is Richard Kettleborough. It was quite full from Willie. Just a question whether it was missing leg stump. I suppose it could have pitched outside as well. I suspect they think it didn't, but actually, that doesn't look a bad shout, to be honest. We've just seen it front on, close
It doesn't
up.
look like there's any bat involved, but can we confirm that with Ultra Edge, please?
He's flicked his front pad and hit his back pad.
Ultra Edge coming through now. Keep it rolling through.
Oh, hold on, there's an inside edge on it.
Keep it rolling through, please. Take it back one frame, please. Take it right back to where the bat is. And we've got a spike. One more frame and freeze it there, thank you. We've got a spike on the edge of the bat. We're going to go back to Michael on field. Michael, you can stay with your original decision of not out. You're on camera now.
Lovely feeling for an umpire. 164 for 8. Feathered onto his front pad by Chimera. Here's Willie round the wicket now to bowl to him. And he comes stabbing forward, pushes that away into the offside towards backward point, and there's no run. Jimmy Anderson is alongside me again. Is there actually, I heard Ravi Shastri say we generally don't bother to review decisions made by umpire Goff because we think he's a really good umpire. I mean, obviously you have to take it case by case because you're going to make a mistake from time to time. I wonder whether you take the umpire into account in decision making or just give it on what you go for what you see. Here's Willie bowling, that's full, played away into the offside, and there's no run. He does seem to get most right, Michael Goff. He was overturned. I think he was overturned a couple of times before lunch of the Lord's Test match. So he had 2 where he was overturned. 164 for 8. I'll get you to comment on that. Your sort of thinking processes on reviews in a moment. I think I know what you're going to say, but here is Willie bowling to Chimera, and Chimera blocks that into the offside, and there's no run.
Yeah, it's a case by case thing. I think obviously there are, the umpires have got a tough job, and there's some that are better than others, and Michael Goff is one of the outstanding ones at the minute. But if you think a decision's out just because he's given it not out, you're not going to not review it just because it's Michael Goff. I think, you just go case by case, and if you think it's close enough, then you have a go at it. And that one there, it was a real faint edge which sometimes, especially when it hit the front pad and then the back pad, so sometimes you hear two noises, but it can be both pads. That time it was just the faintest of edges.
I suppose it's on those tight LBW calls I'm thinking more of. Those sort of umpire calls. Is it umpire's call? Is it hitting? I suppose if it is umpire's call, you get you keep your review, whether you're going to review it or not. But there are. We've all seen test matches where umpires have a nightmare, and you just keep getting reviewed because perhaps they lose confidence a bit in their decision making. They raise the finger when it's not out, and vice versa. Here's Wokes back into the attack, looking for his 5th wicket, 4 for 11 so far from 8.1 overs. The first ball is played defensively by Karen Ratner into the offside, and there is no run. 164 for 8. And where are Sri Lanka going here? Nowhere at the moment. Wokes turns at the far end. Going to bowl to the right-handed Karen Ratner. He's with him now. Turns that into the onside. It's a sharp single. Shot at the stumps, misses at the striker's end. It was root onto it. Our angle here, he looks as though he missed the stumps by quite a long way there. There's Chimera looking to make his ground. Let's have another look at the replay. Yeah, actually not that far away. I think it would have been quite close if he'd hit as well. The route away to his right-hand side. Taken 2 catches today. Root dropped one as well. He's in there at slip for Chimera. Wokes bowls to him, and Chimera pushes forward and misses it. It's taken low down by Bairstow. That single, 165 for 8. And now we're 5 past 2, and there are still 10 overs left for England to bowl here. So they'll be hoping they can take these last 2 wickets, not have to bowl all those 10 overs, because we'll be well into overtime. There might be some allowances knocking around for various things, but we were talking earlier about over rates and punishments and points deductions. Fielder coming up now from Willie, coming up from deep square inside the ring on the onside. Wokes goes in, bowls a slower ball, and an appeal for LBW. It goes down towards Wood at deep third, and Wokes there, obviously appealing because he thought the ball had hit his boot, but it looked as if it went off the bat. It went quite quickly down towards Wood on the boundary, and they're thinking about it. What are they going to do here? They're not going to review this. 166 for 8.
Yeah, lots of discussions going on there. Owen Morgan not convinced by anyone's what anyone was saying. We can see on the replay they clearly hit the edge of the bat. No pad or boot, I think is what everyone thought it was.
Yeah.
No boot involved.
It's a lovely piece of deception by Wokes. Wokes goes in now and bowls. That's played defensively, semi-defensively by Kunaratner into the onside towards Moeen Ali, and there's no run. It was a full slower ball, Yorker, and he came stabbing at it and hit the outside edge of his bat. If he'd missed it, it would have been absolutely plumb, but he didn't. 166 for 8. Kunaratner's 8. Chimera is on 3. Wokes goes in and bowls. Played away straight to cover by Kunaratner. And there is no run. That is the end of the Wokes over. That's best bowling analysis, or tightest bowling analysis since 1994, whatever it is. And he's still under threat, isn't he? Was that?
I think you gave it was 12, wasn't it? You had
12, yeah.
And what's that now? Is that
13?
Oh, it's 13. Is it right? Okay. 4 for 13 from Wokes after 9 overs. But it has been a miserly spell, and a wicket-taking one as well. 4 for 13. Where are Sri Lanka going here, Jimmy?
Well, they just looks at the minute like they're just trying to buy out the last 10 overs, see if they can get maybe 3 or 4 and over, which would take them up to around 210. Well, it'd certainly take them over the 200 mark, which is for me nowhere near enough on this wicket. But that's all they can do now. 2 wickets in hand, 2 lower order batsmen at the crease. They've just got to try and eke out as many as they can, but for me, it's just delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, it has that feeling about it. Chimera is on strike on 3. Here's Curran bowling to him. Oh, he bangs him down the ground for 4. That's more like it. It was in the slot. Well, to some extent it was in the slot, and Chimera opened his shoulders and whacked it back past Curran. And takes him to 7.
I think that's what they've got to try. They've got to try and target a bowler. Obviously, Wokes, the other end, is bowling fantastically well. So they've looked to just keep him out and rotate the strike if they can. Maybe Curran's the one that they're going to look to go after.
Morgan's coming over to have a chat with Curran here. Looking at the field, he's got... His field is outside the circle. He's got 6 inside the circle, so he's keeping mid-off up. He's going over the wicket now, though. Curran goes in and bowls, and he's struck on the thigh pad there. They go for a quick single. It could be a run out. There will be a run out, and there is a run out. Well, that was one of those where 2 batters ended up pretty much at the same end. It went away on the offside, off the pad, and he was called through, and he eventually ran, but it was far too late. There was a horrible mix-up, and Sri Lanka lose their 9th wicket, and it's the striker who was out. He was called through, Chimera, by Karunaratne, and the ball, I mean, it's never a run there. I don't think it went away into the offside. It's that horrible shot for any batters where you look up and your partner is very close to you.
Yeah, it wasn't a run, was it? And I mean, there's been a run out looking likely for about 15 overs. It's some dubious running, but that was never one there. Simple bit of work but also calm bit of work as well. It's one of those where you don't, as a fielder, you can panic and try and throw the stumps down, but it was a nice throw to Sam Curran to be able to collect and take the bails off.
So Chimera run out for 7. And the last man in is Jaya Wickrama, who is making his debut today, and actually the 2 making their debuts who come before him haven't exactly thrived. Laksham's out for 2 and Sri Lanka out for 0. But he'll get his chance to some extent with the ball later, although Sri Lanka with only 160 odd in the bank, they're actually 170 in the bank. They won't have enough, you'd feel, to defend here, to support him. So Praveen Jayawickrama is out there. But for now it's going to be Karunaratne on strike. Jayawickrama looks on as a short ball is delivered by Curran, and Karunaratne ducks underneath it, and it's through to Bairstow. So 145 for 3 has become 170 for 9 from Sri Lanka. And Jimmy was mentioning earlier how a run out looked on, and there was a partnership involving Fernando earlier where, I mean, it looked like it could happen at any moment, and there was one where it should have happened. Bairstow dropped the ball, but finally we've had one. Mickey Arthur will be pacing around by the change room again. Here is Curran bowling a full ball, which is turned away by Karunaratne up towards wide long on, and Moeen comes in and picks up. It's a bit unfair in a way on Mickey Arthur, because actually the camera's only really focusing on it after something has gone wrong out on the field, so you know you're going to get a reaction from him. Whereas if someone scores a half century or a century, generally speaking, the cameras don't go on him, because you know they'd be smiling and happy and clapping. But
yeah, and he's a passionate guy. Yeah. He really does want the team to do well and want the players to perform well. And as I said, he does show his emotion quite a lot.
Here is Curran bowling outside of Jayawickrama's off stump, and he lets it go by, and taken by Bairstow. There was another one of the. There's a great Mickey on Saturday when he was, when Sri Lanka were whatever it was, 80 for 8, and some calamity had happened on the field, and he was chatting. I mean, you didn't really need a lip reader to see what he was saying to Tom Moody next to him. Something on the lines. I'm really not sure what's going off out there. This is Curran. Past umpire Gough into bowl to the number 11 outside the off stump. Jayawickrama lets it go, and it's through to Bairstow, and that's the end of the over. 171 for 9, and 9 overs left. in this Sri Lanka innings. At least 9 overs available to them. That's one of those horrible situations, really, for the lower order here.
Yeah, they're just... I mean, it feels unfair when I've been in this position before where the team's not got enough runs, but there's plenty of overs left. You feel a duty to try and see the overs out, but you still got to try and score runs at the same time. There's no point just being out there and holding up an end or blocking it for 9 overs. So, yeah, it's a bit of a tricky position to be in.
Do you enjoy batting?
Occasionally.
It's not resounding yes.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
I wonder on what occasions. When you're 462 for 9.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wokes bowls. Karunaratne plays this uppishly down towards deep third. And there's indecision about whether they're going to take the run there, but Jayawarkramah was right by the striker, so Karunaratne was obliged. You'd think they would have talked about that between the overs and say, what we're going to do if we think we can only get a single, are we going to run or not?
Yeah, it felt like a bit of inexperience there, because that's something that you, especially as a tail ender batting with someone who can hold the bat better than you talk about whether you're going to take every run or whether they want to take most of the strike. They clearly haven't talked about that.
They'd almost crossed, they were sort of having a negotiation in the middle of the pitch. I mean, it was a huge single. It was down to Wood on the boundary, and now the field comes up and slip goes in for Jayawarkramah at 172 for 9. Karunaratne, the non-strikers, end on 10. Wokes goes in and bowls outside the off stump, and he hasn't been made to play yet. Jayawarkramah outside the off stump, he lifted the bat and let it go through to Bairstow. Problem is that, going at number 11, unless you are 462 for 9, you're always under a bit of pressure, aren't you? You're perhaps trying to help someone who's in at the other end, or might you be trying to force a draw right at the end of a match or something. This is Wokes bowling, and that one's on target. Big drive, he got a thick inside edge on that, rolled out towards square leg. It was picked up by Willie. Did you enjoy your 81 against India on that flat one at Trent Bridge?
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I think the opportunity to bat with people that are better than me is something that I enjoy. So batting with Joe Root during that 81 was an amazing experience, getting to see him up close.
Wokes ball, slower ball that ended up as a low full toss. Wickham hit it into the offside, and that has to be sent back by his non-striking partner. It was a little bit of a gift of a ball actually, but it was a slower ball. He didn't read it, miscued it up towards mid-on. Wokes looking for that full, slower ball again. One that nearly brought him a wicket in his previous over. This is his final over. He's taken 4 for 14. He goes in now, and that's clipped beautifully through forward square leg by Jayawarkramah up towards the boundaries. Might well go for 4. It does. One of the best shots played so far. It was full from Wokes, and a drive with a flourish with a bit of bottom hand. And Jayawarkramah is off the mark in one-day international cricket. Lovely flicky boundary.
Very dismissive as well. Just not a bad ball. A little bit too full potentially from Chris Wokes, but flicked away by Jayawarkramah. Quite a confident stroke as well.
One ball to get his 5 for. Here's Wokes. Last ball to spell. It's short. It's off the hip of Jayawarkramah. Goes down towards fine leg. It's the last ball of the over, so they've had that conversation now. They have decided not to run, so that Karunaratne is on strike. So there we go, 10 overs, 4 for 18. Nearly applause for that in the background. And it's 176 for 9. Sri Lanka with 8 overs remaining.
Wokes, as you said, finished 4 for 18, 10 overs, 5 maidens, his 13th 4-fer, which, as I mentioned earlier on, tied Jimmy Anderson for most 4-fers for England in one-day international cricket, and into the joint top 10th jointly in from players from all countries in ODI's most 4-fers.
So Karunaratne is on strike now. Morgan sorting out his field. He's bringing long on up. 3 men back on the leg side boundary. Here is Curran round the wicket to bowl to Kanerani. It's short and slapped away for 6. Over deep mid-wicket. Well, it was telegraphed, 3 men back. He sensed it was coming, and so did Kanerani. He was onto it. That's quite a big boundary down there as well. And he found the gap between the 2 fielders.
Yeah, it was telegraphed, but he's still got to play the shot, and that is executed brilliantly. Right out the middle. He's hit up on it. He's tried to hit it for 6, and he's connected very cleanly.
Magnificent blow. The ball, I think, went into the crowd there, and spectators, so the ball was chucked back, and umpire Gough got out the sanitizer, wiped the ball down before he threw it back to Sam Curran. Curran's had a word with Owen Morgan. That's led to a change in the field. Rashid's coming up from third, deep third, and Moeen is going back from mid-on to long-on. So now 4 fielders on the leg side boundary. No one saving 1. Here is Curran bowling. Fulton into the onside. They'll look for 2 here, out towards Moeen. They've gone for 1. They're coming back. The second throw's on its way to the non-striker's end. The bails are off, but I think he's home. There's no appeal for a run out. And that was well judged by the 2 batters out there, Karunaratne and Jayawikrama.
Yeah, a quicker fielder there might have actually run them out. Well, he's fairly quick to the ball, but the throw seemed to be a little bit loopy as well. It was accurate, but just not quite fast enough to run him out.
Here's Curran bowling to Jayawikrama. They might do it again here. He's dabbed this into the onside, and I think they're going to do it comfortably. It's a better fielder. It's Billings, although he hits the stumps now. Is this how it is? Oh, that's brilliant from Billings. Well, it looked like 2 was on there, but Billings had other ideas. He sprinted to the ball, picked it up, and for about 40 metres, took out the bails. And umpire Gough did not need to go upstairs for that. Well, that's superb from Billings. Really aggressive fielding. There's not 2 to me.
Yeah, it's world class. Absolutely rapid to the ball, and he had one thought when he picked that ball up. There were 3 fielders gathering round the stump to take the ball and take the bails off. But as soon as he threw it, they all moved out of the way, knowing that he had one thought in his mind, that was to throw the stumps down. And he was deadly accurate. 1 stump to aim at as well from that angle. Just incredible fielding.
Well, that was a really special way to end Sri Lanka's innings. As I'm sure both batters there were pretty confident there was a 2 on. But it wasn't Moeen this time, it was Billings. And it did not need to go upstairs, according to Michael Gough. And Sri Lanka bowled out for 185 in 42.3 overs. So all out just past 20 past 2 with 7.5 overs remaining. And it's a lovely moment as well, isn't it? I think as a fielder to sort of take a wicket. It's all about you there. It wasn't none of your colleagues involved. It was all about you doing the destructive work.
I think that the thing about England's fielding, you see, it's an attitude thing, and the energy they bring. They see, even the batsmen, they see it as an opportunity to create a wicket, whether it's with a blinding catch, whether it's a run out, as we've seen there from Sam Billings. And I think that's the attitude you need from all 11 people on the field, and in all forms of the game, actually. But obviously in the shorter form of the game, when you've got those sorts of people in the field that can create something like that, it makes a world of difference.
So Sri Lanka 185 all out. Jimmy, I mean, that's some collapse from 145 for 3.
Yeah, well, they looked like they were going along really well. They were sort of the way Pereira batted. He attacked the power play and then reined it in afterwards as well. Started knocking it around, built that partnership, and it looked like they were going to go on and get somewhere around 270, 280 maybe. And then as soon as he started losing wickets, they had a few debutants who struggled to get going. And then the pressure seemed to be on Pereira to then bat through the innings, and he couldn't quite find that balance of attacking and just knocking it around. And once he got out, it was inevitable that they were going to get bowled out, and it's just a matter of time. But I thought England, you can talk about Sri Lanka all you want, but England again, following on from the T20s, I thought the bowling attack was fantastic right from the start. The way Willie and Wokes started with the new balls was just relentless, and in the field as well, brilliant catching, 2 good run-outs, and just constant pressure on Sri Lanka, and didn't give them an inch.
185 all out then in 42.3 overs. Pereira 73, Hasaranga 54, Karunaratne 19 not out. Is that what you have, Andy, for Karunaratne? 19 not out, and the only players in the Sri Lanka lineup to make double figures. Nissanka 5, Asalanka 0, Shanaka 1, Mendis 1, Lakshan 2, Fernando 2, and then Chamira 7 run out. Jaya Wickrama run out for 4 as well there at the end, both by Billings. Wokes 4 for 18 from 10 overs and 5 maidens, and Willie 3 for 43 from 10 overs. Moeen Ali 1 for 5. Rashid 45 from 6 overs for him today, not his day. Mark Wood 7 overs for 19, and Sam Curran's figures, Andy?
He was none for 45 from 7.3 overs. Wokes is 5 maidens, the most by an England bowler since Jimmy Anderson in that innings we were talking about back in 2003, second most since the 1992 World Cup. 5 maidens in his 10 overs today, and only the second bowler to bowl 5 maidens in a one-day international in the last 12 years anywhere.